It's a Saturday morning. We are all in over here. A few apologies to being a bit late today, but all in all, here we are. So I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome you to this year's Form 4 Career Day. It's more or less a bit overdue. This should have been held last year, but well, circumstances beyond our control forced us to do this. So without much ado, I'm going to first of all introduce myself, though I don't think I need to do that. My name is David Dimba. So I teach physics, Form 2, Form 3. We met some time back. I'm also the career master in charge of counseling and placement issues out there. So we shall have a couple of deliveries by a few speakers, just to more or less help us out. Sorry, I was unmuted over there. So as I was saying, we shall have a few speakers who will give us a few insights into what our sons could be doing in the very, very near future, almost immediately after KCSE, which is fast approaching, as you very well know. So one of the speakers that we have in mind would be Mrs. Margaret Waithaka. I don't think she's joined as of yet, but anyway. So she'll be one of the speakers. She's the executive director of Discover Your Career. So she'll give us a small talk about choosing careers. Then we shall also have Professor Anne Muigai, who is a lecturer in the Department of Botany at JKU Art. I can already see Professor. Welcome, Professor. Then immediately after that, we shall have Professor Kashoda Meoli. So Professor Meoli, who is in the Information Systems Department at USIU. And he's also a member of, an executive director of KENET. That's Kenya Education Network. So he'll be talking to us about making or studying abroad better still. Then, almost towards the end, we shall have a representative of Strathmore University from the School of Engineering. It's very, very new soil here. That's Professor Isael da Silva. So he will tell us about what to expect at Strathmore University. And of course, he'll try to persuade every single one of us to bring our sons over eventually. Then to cap it all up, I'm going to finish off the whole session by giving you a small presentation on possible short courses that your sons can do. All right, immediately after finishing off the exams. All right, so I just want to quickly check if Mrs. Margaret Waithaka is in. If she's not yet in, then I've seen Professor Anne Muigai. So Professor, if you could just be on standby so as to possibly start off this session. So I'm just scrolling through this list of participants. I can't see her in as of yet. Okay, Professor. So Professor Anne Muigai, if you'd please do us the honor of making your presentation. It's a bit accelerated, but I guess Mrs. Waithaka will join us when the time comes. So
I'm here.
Oh, you are here. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. So welcome, Mrs. Waithaka.
Okay.
So let me see. I guess I can actually give you the screen to take over. So if admin can give the screen over to you, the floor is fully yours. Karibu
Thank
sana.
You.
All right.
Asante. Okay, I can start off.
Yes, you can, please.
Okay. Thank you very much. I actually thought that I was supposed to start at 9:15. That's why I joined it casually. So I apologize. I think I didn't get that information. So thank you so much. And thank you, parents, students. For students, Form 4 students, I was with you a little bit earlier, I think towards last year. And some of the things that we will talk about, I know you know. So of course, we'll be expecting you to even be better than all of us. So my name is Margaret Waidaka. For the sake of the parents and those who do not know me, a little bit about myself. I am the Executive Director of DYC and also the founding board chair of the Association of Career Guidance Practitioners of Kenya. It's a new association that is helping to put the practice in order. I've worked in the field of career guidance for over 10 years, and I've written this book. Some of you may know, for it's a pity that we are not doing this physically. I would have given, you'd have bought the book, but not to worry, we can do that later. I also work a lot with KICD in the ongoing educational reforms. I am panelists. So we have actually done all what you'll be seeing. These actually will be your children, young people, who will be taking the CBC to the full. Okay, as we begin, I want us to start reflecting what really is the purpose of education. How do we spend our time? So really the purpose of education is to prepare us for a career, for the world of work. We spend over 19 years, or let me say 19 years, if you look at the time that you are in school, to prepare ourselves to get to the world of work. And we spend actually half of our waking hours in jobs and in careers. And also we spend most of our productive years in careers. So that tells us if we have to spend all this time in careers, then we have to choose it very, very well. For us adults, we know that many of us are in careers we never chose to be in. And if you are given a chance, would actually choose something different. And these are some of the statistics that were done. So of course, now they are done on us. And it says that 66% of the people who are checked were in the wrong career. 27 did not even know whether they were in the right career or they were in the wrong career. And only 7% say that, you know what, if I have to choose, I'll still be in the careers or in the right career. So mathematicians here, if you have to look at 27 and 66 and get a mean, what are we going to get? We may get about 75% are in the wrong career. So really, we start asking ourselves, how are we going to be productive? How can we be productive if most of us are in the wrong careers? I don't know whether let me just put my video as well so that we are also on the same wavelength. All right. Now, those were statistics. Now, when we look at the problems that we have of careers, there are very many problems that we actually come and get ourselves in. We find that after students finalize their Form 4, and many times we start that, we wonder, am I going to go to aviation? Is it accounts? Is it engineering? Actually, all the way, we are finding ourselves, where are we going to be? And we have found a lot of career problems. Some of the career problems are the mismatch, like what I've just talked among students. I am sure some of the people or the facilitators here will be telling us about the mismatch among the students in universities, which has actually, universities and colleges, which has brought a lot of dropout rates, very high dropout rates. We have a lot of career uncertainties. Where do I go? Where don't I go? And of course, because of the issues that we have in our education system, we have insufficient career guidance. Many of us are not given the right way, because some of us, if we are given the right career advice, we would actually not be where we are. So what do we have to think? What do we think about when you're talking about a career journey? Of course, we have to start thinking about, what really do I want to become later in life? What do I become later in life? It's never too early to think about your future careers, gentlemen. It's never too early. You need to start thinking about it now if you haven't. And actually, from CBC, we have actually started putting career education in kindergarten, PP1 and PP2. We start getting awareness so that by the time you are where you are now, you are not even second guessing. You are actually in the career that you need to be. So because what you do right now has an impact in what you are going to do in life. Are we together? I guess we are. Now, there are the wrong questions and the right questions that we ask ourselves. And one of the things are the wrong questions we said. What jobs are in demand? That is a wrong question, because are you happy? You can actually get a job that will give you so much money, but really it is not the job for you. It is not a job that you will enjoy. Then what are the most high paying jobs? Student, I think I asked you the last time whether we will choose careers because of money and because of passion. And I still remember most of you, and we all agreed that passion needs to drive our career so that money will come following us. Because if you're so good at what you do, you will actually find money following you. Then, of course, we start asking, what jobs can I do abroad? I have that. Those are the wrong questions that you ask yourself, because it can be a job, not a career, because a job places money on the table, but a career gives you joy in what you do. What jobs require minimum effort for high salary? That is a wrong question, students, because you can actually, that means that this is where laziness comes in, because if you are looking for it's a lot of money, but minimum effort, because we have to work hard, even we parents who are here, and even we teachers at our age, we are still working so hard. We are still waking up so early to do what we are doing. You can ask, what jobs have the shortest hours, what careers get me promoted. Those are really the wrong careers, the wrong questions to ask. What are the right questions that we need to ask ourselves? Students, I think we also went through this, but for the sake of parents, of course, we will repeat. What will make me happy? That is the right and appropriate question for you to ask yourself. What really am I passionate about? What is these things that drives me? What is these things that drives me to wake up in the morning? What do I dream of doing every day? What is this that every time I see, I actually feel my adrenaline moving because I love it? What do I really want to do? So now we want to find out how to get to this. Now, there's a career guidance process, and the process of career guidance starts with various needs. Many of us start thinking about careers at Form 4 now when you're doing this. But career guidance needs to start from the early level, because what happens is that the process of guidance must start with knowledge of self. Who am I? Everyone is unique and everyone is wired very differently. We need to find out what our interests are, what our strengths are, what our traits are. What are these things that I was created with? That in over 7.5 billion of us, none of us looks the same. None of us are the same. Am I right, students? Am I right? That everyone is so different. And then after that, we start to explore the options. What career can I take? What are the trends in the industry? What subjects will guide me? What course will take me to that career? Once you have done that, you focus yourself, you set your goals, you go to the university or the college that will actually get you, and then you take action and you move. If you do not start this, you will actually get into the problems that we saw before. You must start by knowledge of self. And when you talk about knowledge of self, I hope I am clear and we are all together. All right. Now, when we start talking about knowledge of self, what is it that, how do we know who am I? What do we know whether my interests are high enough to support my career? What are these things that I will do that will make me happier than the others? So now, I want to tell you about a short story of John Holland. John Holland is an industrial psychologist. He's still alive. He's also an educational psychologist, and he wanted to find out why some people are more motivated than others given the same circumstances. He wanted to find out why are people more happier than others in a department. Like in the staff room, there are teachers who will always be on top of the game, or even in a department in school. If I had more time, I'll give you a bit more stories. And then people who enjoy their work and people who are more productive. When he did this research, he arranged people into 6 categories, loosely placing people into 6 categories. And in the category where you will actually find yourself doing better than others, he said that there are people who love doing work, what we call, we came up with something called the REASEC model. We start with realistic. People who are more doers, people who are more theoretical, that is the thinkers, people who are more artistic, that is the creators, people who love working with people, that is the social people. I will explain a little bit, so don't worry if I'm a bit fast. And then people who are persuaders, people who are organizers. And he said that all these people loosely people come in different shapes. And if we learn what our interests are, then we'll tend to do very, very well. He said, if your personality, according to this model, are we together? That if your personality match with the course that you take in school, at the universities or colleges, or even the subjects that you pick, or the career that you'll pick, or the work environment that you'll be, it will lead to a successful career. Are we together? I want to remove this something that is distracting me. All right. And then he said, and then of course we said, if we are all different, we work in different styles because we are all unique. So the first group of people are the people we call the realistic people. Remember our graph? These people, they always say, let's get the job done. They are very practical. They love working with their hands. They love working with their bodies. They love working with plants, animals. They love working outdoors. They enjoy using tools, machinery, physical skill, because they are manipulators. I don't know whether we are able to check about how many people find themselves here. Are we able to find yourselves? You can pick, you can, I'm sure you're told, you can pick and say what area that you are in, what area that you will be in. Then we have the second group of people. The second group of people are the people we call the investigative. The investigative people say, let us figure this out. These are the thinkers. They love working with ideas, with theories, with thoughts. They enjoy scientific work, technology, academia. They enjoy working with theory, research, and are really naturally very curious. They want to find out why, what, where. These are the investigating people. Are you finding yourself there? Do you find yourself there, students? We had gone through this. I think you remember this in the video that we had. And then we have the artistic people. These are people who will say, let us create. They find themselves in passion. They're very passionate, they're very intuitive, and they work with feelings. They enjoy writing, performing, dancing, decorating, and they love a lot of art and design and their language. They are very expressive people. You'll find them express themselves in writing, they express themselves in decorations, in performance, in production, and all these people are different and they come in different style. I am sure there are people who are finding themselves there. Then we go to the fourth type of people. And the fourth type of people are the people we find the social kind of people. These people say, let us work together. You can actually see the pictures. Let us work on this together. They want to do things with other people. They are commonly known as helpers. Social people are naturally endowed with a lot of empathy. Can I help you? They have compassionate, they have interpersonal relationships, they have a lot of care in them. They enjoy assisting. You'll find a lot of your teachers here, your coaches, people who love to serve other people. They like to work in supportive environment. When you remove these people from people, when you remove the social people from people, they cannot work. They will not produce. The same way, if you remove the realistic people from manipulation, they cannot work. If you remove the investigative people from theory, they can actually not be productive and innovative. So people have to play to their strengths. And then you have the group called the enterprising people. And as I'm speaking, you will find now the careers that actually match. I'm sure you're thinking about the careers that will match. So let's get going. These are the doers. People, these are very practical people. They are doers. They are very assertive. They are confident. They are effective in using words to their advantage. We can think about our politicians, of course. They are risk takers. When people are not sure about the things to be done, they say, let us get going. Parents, I'm sure you are looking at your different children and who have all the different personalities. Enterprising people, they are natural persuaders. They enjoy leading. They are motivators. They love influencing others. And they love to work in positions of power. These people don't love a lot of academic pursuits, but they actually get things done in wherever area that they find themselves. Okay. Now, the last group of people are the people we call the conventional. The conventional people say, let's put things in order. They are known as organizers. They are very thorough. They are attentive to details. They are orderly, structured, and systematic. They love working in structured environments, and they love precision and accuracy. These people also enjoy managing data, information, and processes. These are the people who work in our offices, and they're the people who organize us. They will the people who will organize the artistic people. Well, an artistic person, even in their rooms, they will throw their things everywhere and they'll say, you know what, even tomorrow is a day. But conventional type of people, they will plan, they will organize, they will put things together. And of course, they will have careers. If they find a place that is organized, they cannot actually work. And even their careers that they will give, they will not actually issue it very well. Where do you find yourself, students? I know even parents, you will find yourself somewhere. But sometimes we ask ourselves, are we 100% of one? Are we 100% of this thing? And the theory says, no. We find ourselves having a primary, something that we find ourselves that we are so inclined to that. We can even have two primaries. And then we have others that support us. So for example, if your primary is realistic, you love working with your hands, but you have also another primary that is more of a C, organized data and all that. And then you also have another one that is leading to there that is an I, theoretical and all that. You'll actually find these people working very well as engineers because they work with system, they work with their hands and structures. If you're the kind of person who love like the conventional, you will find yourself in some of those careers and you find yourself inclined to those careers. So we are never 100%. But how do we know ourselves where we really are to truly confirm where our interests lie or we align ourselves? There is something we call the psychometric career test. And we did this with the students, the science of psychometric testing, and we did a little bit of that because what a psychometric does is that it's scientific, it's validated. It has to be scientific and validated for it to give you true data. And it's our psychometrics test, because we do this. We have a lot of your students, earlier students who have actually come to us and you've taken that. This is an online test. It's acceptable to anyone over 15. We are all over 15. It can be done anywhere, and the results are immediate. It takes between 15 to 45. Some students even use 12 minutes, because it is very interesting to do. It's not an exam, it's an assessment. It just tells you areas. It tells you that, for example, if on a Sunday afternoon you are given the area to be, you are given, you can read a book, an alternative to read a book or to watch a movie. What would you watch? So now those are the different areas that it gives. It's a very interesting thing to do. It is scientifically tested, is validated, is reliable, and it's accepted globally and also in Kenya. These are the science, is the science that came up in the 20th century, is really acceptable in the places of work. I am sure most of us parents have done some in our workplaces, but we have the ones for students, and this is particularly one for students. We call it vocation. It has no right or wrong answers. It's a questionnaire paired with answers. So it means that if you answered, say, number 14 in a different way from number 60, it balances you. It has paired up to even 3 ways that you do that. Are we together? Are we together? I hope we still are together. Why do we take the test during high school or after high school? Because remember, we say that career guidance must start with knowledge of selves. It gives us knowledge of our personal strengths, our natural abilities, our interests. It helps us identify our area according to the RIASEC model, and it tells us also our strengths and our weaknesses as well, the areas that you need to build on and the areas that you should not even bother. And there's some areas you should not even bother because really it's not your area. It's just like me being given the artistic area. It's really not my area. It helps in subject selection as well. Of course, we are past that, but for parents and students you are with earlier, it helps us in subject selection, but also helps us a lot in our course selection. If you are not sure, please do this. Yeah, just do this and it is going to help you. We have different post-school options. Of course, for Strathmore, I see nearly 100% of you, or in most of you, going academic pathways. But it is important for you to know that there are very many options. For us, and also for parents who are seated here, our children are not the same. We have different options that they can go to. We have the academic pathway, that the one that we all know. Then we have the business pathway. A lot of our students, remember that only about 15 to 20% of students go to the universities. What happened to the rest? These ones are about, say, 30%. Where do they go to? It's things that we need to ask ourselves. So we'll have the academic pathways, which is the universities, the colleges, the TVET, and all that. We have the business pathways, the young people who will go to entrepreneurship, biashara, a hustle here and there. And then we have apprenticeship. In apprenticeship, you go to work, but now we have Kenya national qualification framework that says that if you work to a certain extent, you can actually be certified. You work to another sector, you be given a diploma. So you can actually work there. So these are people who actually shadow other people. For example, if there are people who, somebody who will go to a garage and you're learning about being a mechanic, you can actually do apprenticeship and then you are graded. In other parts of the world, in developed countries, it's an area that people love, and very many people go to the apprenticeship and they actually get certification and they work early. Then we have the disciplined forces. Many people do not understand how to go about it, but I think if you look for more information, we will still get that. I am sure next time you can have somebody in the disciplined forces to come and also tell us how we get into this. But I'll tell you a little bit about another area that you can also know. And then we have sports academies. I have found a lot of young people talking about sports. Can I actually do sports and all that? It is good. But when you do the assessment, you'll find that you can't be great in just one area. You can be in many areas. Many of the sports, you know that, for example, if you're a footballer, how long will your career be? By the time you are 30 to 35, you're not playing anymore. But we have talents. There are all these talents that you can actually build on. And when you go to sports academy, you can't just play. There are so many career pathways in those sports. I don't know whether there's anyone from KU because they do this at the university. There are very many career pathways on the sports. Nutrition in sports. You can actually become. You can become the coach. You can have. You can. There are very many careers in those. But you have the sports academy. They are being built, and we have some of them. There are many pathways that we can go to. All right. We are coming to the end, but I want to tell this is for you parents. For you young people, I know you have found yourself, you are finding yourself, you are still struggling, but you have to be very sure. I need to talk to you parents. When we do a lot of our research and when we talk to a lot of young people, they tell us, they actually tell us our problem, because we as parents always we know, and we find ourselves trying to guide our children in the best way possible, but many times we do not even have the answers, and we do not even have the reason and the ways that can do so. For your parents, you are facilitators and not influencers of your children career choices. So number one, I want you to help your children discover their passion, their attitude, their strength, their interest. Everybody is talented. Remember we said everybody is unique. Help them to follow them. Are we together, parents? Number two, get as much information as possible about the chosen career that your child wants to take. Ensure that you give them a possibility of association with professionals in that career. For example, if they want to get into disciplined forces, get somebody, let them get to understand about all that, so that even as they're making their choices, they are so aware. In other parts, even here, sometimes we do what we call job shadow, where they go and find out about a particular career. Are we together, parents? Number three, try to stop your child from falling into prey to peer pressure and herd mentality as much as possible. Don't let them be like these goats or these sheep, where you are all moving together towards the same. I have very many stories, if time was to allow me, of people who have actually gone to careers because of their friends, because of other. Just try to avoid as much as possible. Let them follow their interest, their passion, and of course, marrying them to their education aspirations. Seek professional help as much as possible. Number five, do not dictate your child's decision, parents. Rather, guide them towards making an informed choice. Do not dictate. I've had so many instances of this. So do not dictate, but guide them. Let them be guided by professionals, and even you know so many other areas. Many of us are boxed into just 5 careers. The post-school options are so many, and the careers are so many. Do not burden the children with unreal expectations, Do not compare them. Why can't you be like so and so? Because everybody is unique. Let those people be role models. Link them to be role models, so that they can say that, you know what, you can be, but let's not bring them down. The career scope changes with time. Let us desist from imposing the ideas of the ones that existed during our time. We know that technology has brought her burst, has actually give us a bubble burst. And now we are finding ourselves in so many other careers. If we say that, I should have done this, during our time we used to do this, so many things have changed. These guys are ahead of us. These students are many times ahead of us. Let's find our scopes. Let's find as much information as possible. Let us desist from misguiding our children into choosing the careers of our choice. That you must choose, you must be a lawyer because you have to take up me. You have to take up my law business. You actually must do medicine because you must take up my business. We have done this and we have burnt our fingers a great deal. We have burnt our fingers. Very many stories I would tell you, and some of the stories are like they go there, they do 2 years, 3 years, and they leave. Others they finish and then they give us our certification and say, you know what, I've done your career, let me just do mine. let us avoid doing this, because you also don't want to be disappointed, but you also want the best for our kids. Let us try not to allow other people and friends to influence our children, because everybody normally has a career. I had this young person who had an A minus, but she came to my office and she told me that the careers that people are telling me to do are 10. We went through all that, it's a joke. Everybody wants her to be something. But I ask her, what do you want to be yourself? So those are the things that we want. Let us try not to avoid ourselves, but let us be the facilitators, guide them, help them, and be with them. I know time is not on our side, but I'm finishing within our time. For you students, I'm back to you. I want to find out, what lessons have we learned from all this? I want you to remember and take this to the bank, that you are unique. You have a purpose in this world. You're not here by mistake. Like every star in the sky, you are not here by mistake. And the first step to in the career journey is knowledge of self, your interests, your talents, your abilities, your strength, not the grade. The grade comes number two. But education is very important as a link to your career and your dreams. Are we together, students? Give it your all. Just give it your all, because it is after number two we will marry will number three. If you don't give it your all, you'll find that your dream will actually be interfered with. Number four, put aside all the things that will interfere with your future. I know there are so many things that will interfere with our future, technology, what a lot of things. Just put them aside for now. Put them aside. It is what we do today that is going to determine your future. These little things that we do today determine our future. Don't be cheated that you will start learning later and then you'll work later. No, it is today that determines your future. For us parents, we have given our best, we have done everything. Remember, you're going to be the parents of the future. You have to ensure that you're doing the same to your children, the same way your parents have done for you, or even better, because it's going to be a better life. Number five, it is your dream. It is not your parents. When your parents are waking you up, when we are telling you to do your best, when we are telling you that, it is because we care. But the dream is yours. All this work will be yours. It is not your teachers. Your teachers are supporting you. Your friends are with you to help you in their life. But the dream remains yours. Always remember to follow through. Are we together? Are we together? All of us, let us follow through. We all have known what it is. As I conclude, for those people who were not here when I started, my name is Margaret Waithaka from Discover Your Career. That is my number. Please call me in all that you do. You can email me, ask me any questions. Students, call me, ask me anything. But before I conclude, I want to say, before I conclude, I want to say that there is a course that I would like you students to take after college. You can see the website that is up there, careerguidancecollege.com. This is a short course that takes 4 weeks. All these things we are discussing, you will actually find a lot of information that you'll never have to think through. So please do that, but you can click on that. Parents, you can click on that, before you even do your short courses, or even in the midst of doing your what do you call the computer courses, ICDL. Please take this course. It is a short call. It's called Career and College Readiness Course. If you pick it, you'll actually find a lot of information there. And I think I am done. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, young men, for listening to me. I always love talking to you. And in case of any questions, I'm here standing to answer you. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Waithaka. In fact, you've more or less taken us back to when we were very young guys in university.
Yes.
You've just reminded me of a particular story that a friend of mine told me after he finished off with university. So he told me that his daughter, who was a very sharp lady, got a very good mark in KCSE, Then they kept on persuading or trying to persuade her to go to university to do a medicine-based course. She did exactly that. She got a clean first-class honors. Then she brought the degree back home to the parents and told them this. Now, I have given you your degree. This is the first-class honors. I want to go and do my own undergraduate degree. You reminded me about that. Asante sana. All right, now for the rest of us parents, I've been checking through the chat questions and I don't seem to see any from Mrs. Waithaka. Then maybe I didn't give you guidance on that at the very beginning. So what you could do is, if that question comes up, please direct it to Strathmore School. If you check the list of participants in this meeting, you have Strathmore School as your host. So you could direct all of your questions over there so as to make it easy for the speakers to more or less address them because we shall give the information to them. I know that one of the speakers had asked me how we're going to deal with this. So just had a small change of mind, direct your questions to Strathmore School as the host. That's one of the participants. Then the school will transfer the question to the speaker at the end of it all. All right, so once again, thank you very much, Ms. Waithaka. So I think the next in line will be Professor Muigai. So Professor Muigai, like I said at the very beginning, is a lecturer at the Department of Botany at JKU ATA, and she is here to speak to us about making success of university life, opportunities and pitfalls. In fact, I really wish I had been given this talk before I went into my undergraduate course at KU, but here we are. It's never too late to learn. So Professor Muigai, it is all yours. Karibu sana.
So thank you very much, and good morning to all parents and students. Thank you, Strathmore School, for this invitation. And I've been giving this talk for a number of years now, and I try to add in information as the life is changing. So my talk is going to be on how to make success of university life, some of the opportunities that will be presented to you and the pitfalls that will be there. So I looked at the calendar that was shared by the Ministry of Education, and obviously you're preparing for your exams now, and they will be done by April 2021. One of the questions I like to ask students before they finish the exams is to manage how they will celebrate completion of exams. And this is key because we've had very many cases. I can give you at least one every year for the last 19 years of students who went out to celebrate and ended up, either dead or in hospital or having a serious condition that they would have to manage for the rest of their life. And this is because of the spontaneous decisions that students make. Let's go out, let's celebrate, let's have a drink, let's smoke this, and it doesn't go well. So please manage this. At least now we have Uber. You don't have to get into a car that is driven by a person who has never driven you before. Just because he was your classmate doesn't mean that he's competent as a driver. I'm been driving for very many years, but I am challenged on the road almost on a daily basis. And my experience is the one that helps me navigate some of those tricky situations. So without a lot of experience on the road, anything can happen. Well, I'm not saying that your colleague is a bad driver, but without the experience that they don't have, anything can happen. And if you're a passenger in that car, anything can happen. I tell you, as a lecturer, sometimes at the university, we've had to bury our children, bury our students, because now it's very easy to hire cars. Students rent a car, go with it for a weekend, decide to drive from Juja to Thika, spend the whole day there celebrating, and on their way back to the university, things happen, especially with these new roads. Anyway, consider what your life goal is. And this is something that you could start considering right now. What do I want to be? Where do I see myself? Do I want to be a successful business guy in business, or professional, or whatever it is? Remember, if you don't have a destination and if you don't know where you're going, anywhere is okay. And that actually brings us to what Margaret was talking about, yeah? That you can follow your friends because their ideas seem to be more exciting than yours, and you just find yourself going along. Have this career discussion with your parents, with Margaret, and with your teachers, and get to know what other careers you can have. So I did a spreadsheet here to try and map your next 2 years from now. So you're going to do your KCSE exams in March. According to the ministry calendar, marking will happen in April, which means I've given them 2 months here to, a whole month here to standardize or to cross-check the marks in the examination, which means latest by June 2021, your results will be out. By this time, you'll already have been at home for 2 months. So what will you have been doing for those 2 months? I can tell you that the ministry is working very hard to standardize all calendars, including school calendars, university calendars, and we at the university sector are under pressure to make sure that we are ready to admit students in September, latest October. Certainly in 2021, university students will already know what university course they have been admitted to. And if the student admission happens in September, you'll have been at home for 5 months. If it happens in October, you'll have been at home for 6 months. That is already half a year of sitting at home doing what? So think about that. Now, parents, we have to be on top of things. Be on top of things. My advice to you as parents is to put in applications for parallel courses simultaneously as to the time when you're doing your applications for government-sponsored students. The window this year is very, very short, which means that when COOPS, the Kenya University Placement Colleges, that body COOPS, announces who will be admitted into what courses and who has been given a government scholarship or not, the time to maneuver yourself out of one course and into another course is non-existent, which means that you stand losing out university admission in Kenya for 2021 if you have not applied to be a parallel student. So if you have applied for whatever course, education, IT, for consideration for a government scholarship, which is the COOPS placement, put in a parallel admission. That application costs 1,500 shillings, maximum 2,000 shillings in any university in this country. In the event that you don't get into the career course that you want through the university, the government scholarship, you've already placed it. Why? Because the next window for university admission will be in January 2022. And it's painful to have sat at home for 9 months waiting to just get into the course. By that time, the other students will already have done one semester. And if you're not very, very keen, the next admission process will be available in May 2022, and that is 13 months from now. So consider that. If you don't do anything about it, maybe in January 2022, this will be January 2022, September, when the other university students are being admitted, is when your son's admission will go through. So be on top of this and be aware that we're not only looking at completing university KCSE, we're looking at also the university admission. So as soon as your son finishes the exams in March, I'm not telling you to start applying now because no university has advertised. The adverts for these courses comes out as soon as the results are announced. So you have time to be on the lookout for it. So some thoughts, some students want to do a gap year, and a gap year is very American. Students who finish high school in the US usually stay 1 year out. Usually they use this time to travel, to work odd jobs, and to, maybe just earn some money. But if you apply this in the Kenyan situation, we have to consider advantages and disadvantages. The advantages are that, yes, you can make some money. It's very good. You can also do community work. You can meet new people. You can unwind. It's been stressful 4 years or how many years in school. You can also develop new skills. However, the disadvantages of a gap year, especially when you consider it from a Kenyan perspective, is that you may not do anything constructive. And you may not be willing to do non-skilled jobs. So if you come and you're looking for a job, maybe you'll be an intern at the United Nations doing messengerrial work, or working in an office, managing an office, answering calls, doing reception work. So those are non-skilled jobs, which might not augur very well on a CV if you've been doing it for 1 year. The salary component is very small. Some of you, your pocket money is more than what you would earn in these skilled, non-skilled jobs. And the gap here might be very expensive for your parents to manage. Why? Because most of these jobs don't pay much, if at all they do. And if they don't pay you anything, then your parents are the ones who are meeting your expenses for salary, for lunch, and whatever it is. My view always is that if you're going to do a degree course that's going to take you the next 4, 5, 6 years, it's a long journey already. The earlier you begin, the better for you. Another viewpoint is, what about doing a pre-university course or an IB in one of the international schools that are placed here? Well, this would be something that you need to consider, but you also need to consider it with an end in mind. What is your end in mind? What are the advantages? Well, students who do IB courses here, especially when you've passed through Strathmore, do exceptionally well. And you have to be aware, parents, that students in Strathmore are targets for these schools because they are already very good students. They're very, very sharp. They're very, very bright. They're going to help them market their schools better because they will do very well. So you have to be careful not to be a marketing agenda for somebody else. Usually the aim is to not study locally, and the aim is to go abroad, and often you end up in the top universities in the UK. So if your goal is not to study in Kenya, perhaps doing one of these pre-university courses is good for you. However, if your goal is to study in Kenya, then it might not be very useful to do an IB or pre-university course. Why? Because it sets you off your goal. Once you do this pre-university, there will be peer pressure to look at all these top-notch universities all over the world. These universities will be marketing. The costs are very prohibitive, and if your parents will not be able to pay, then it will be very, very difficult. They offer scholarships, yes, but most of these scholarships are percentages, so 10, 15% of school fees, and there are all these other costs to consider. So a student who has done an IB course and whose parents are marketing them to study locally might not agree to study locally. And we have had crises where a student has come to the university, they had gone to do IB and they're completely disillusioned and they are not motivated to study, and they end up graduating with a mediocre average qualification. Why? Because their dream was elsewhere and they felt like their dream was nabbed in the bud. So which course would one apply for, and which university? I think Professor Meoli will touch on this. However, you have to be aware that if you're applying for a course, say medicine, I've put medicine here just an example, it could be anything. It is now being offered in more universities. So gone are the days where if you applied for medicine, it was only offered at University of Nairobi. Or if you're applying for a course like engineering, it was only offered at University of Nairobi. Now you have engineering being offered in all universities, many universities across the country. So you have to be careful when you're applying for your university course, and I know you'll be filling this in as soon as the exams are over, to not only apply for a course and leave it blank, to apply for a course and be very specific. And you'll be offered a position to say, my first choice for medicine is University of Nairobi, my second choice is Kenyatta University, my third choice is more universities, for instance. Margaret has talked about this. I think I can only say that the course that you apply for as a student should be the course that you're motivated to do. You're the one who's going to sit those exams. You're the one who's going to do the work. So be the main stakeholder who has actually applied for this particular course. Your parents are there to guide you. I remember when one of my daughters was applying to go to university, she really wanted to do architecture, and now she's a 6th-year student in architecture. But looking at her personality, I felt, will you be able to wake up early? Will you be able to study the whole night? I mean, these people draw the whole night and they go with only 2 hours of sleep. I know how much you like your sleep and your meals. Will you manage? And as a parent, you do know the personality. And when you point these things out, when somebody goes and chooses that course, then they are actually motivated to do something and to finish. If you push somebody into a course where they're not really motivated to do it, then they might not be willing to go the extra mile. You have to consider whether you'll be a day scholar or a boarder. The traffic situation in Nairobi has become crazy. So how much time will you be spending commuting? And this is where now the parents have to ask themselves, are we going to buy a car to take you to be driving? Are you going to take public transport? And this is a decision you as parents, will have to decide what are the pros and the cons of driving to school every day. How much time will be spent commuting? What is the expense of that? Then if that is out of the question, then you have to consider about hostel arrangements or accommodation arrangements. However, parents, I see those cars. Those cars have filled our parkings, yeah, in the university, and sometimes I'm embarrassed to park mine next to your very nice car there. And I see them how they're driven in the campus. So you have to also equip your son with the skills on how to manage. There's a lot of peer pressure. Pick me up at this hostel and drop me at my lecture hall from all manner of people. Anyway, that's a side story. So if they stay at home, what are the distractions at home? And if they stay on campus, what are the distractions on campus? And parents, what are your fears? I think at the bottom of the day, whether they stay at home or whether they commute, you as parents and your students, you have to confront your fears. Are you afraid? I was very afraid of my children taking public transport. But I was afraid because, maybe they will get into an accident. So you equip them with the skills. How do you take public transport? If you get into a matatu that is being driven like this, get off. You have to be able to face your fears, and instead of imposing them on your children and then managing them together with your child. The other consideration is, okay, fine, you've decided that your son will stay on campus, but are they going to stay within the university hostel accommodation, or are they going to stay off campus? Well, hostels are shared accommodation, 4 people per room. I don't know what's going to happen with all the corona business, but we don't have enough accommodation to put everybody on campus. And the number of students that are being admitted by the government are increasing. And it is automatic that as soon as a student is admitted, offer them accommodation. So it's very, very crowded. Bathrooms are communal. You have people coming from all walks of life, different ethos, different socializations, and it can be stressful for students who have been on to Strathmore. I was a student who, when I was admitted into the university hostel, and I had a culture shock, okay, having gone to Kianda and all. I don't know, that was many years ago. I don't know what would happen to me now if I was to get in. So there are considerations on whether you'd have to rent a hostel or a flat, and the economies of that, and the security, because again, students who rent accommodation are deemed to be very rich, and they're targeted by people from all walks of life. Well, freshers, as you're called, as first-year students are called, are found to be the most anxious students among all of them. And the anxiety comes from being in new and very unfamiliar environments. This causes anxiety. And the students are forced to make many decisions about themselves that usually have been made by their parents, especially their mothers. Decisions like what time to wake up, how much time do I need to wake up? With the female students, they don't know how much time they need to get ready to, and then they have to walk to class and they end up getting late. They don't know who manages sleep at the moment. Usually it's the mother. Go to sleep now, it's time to go to bed. Yeah, so your parents are managing the time you sleep, they're managing the time you wake up, they're managing the commute to school, they're managing your meals, they're managing everything. And bang, a student finds themselves at university and they can't manage this. This is a student who is cooking in a hostel with a little appliance here. You can see all the kitchen appliances. And this is what the reality is. The main challenge actually when you talk about it is time management. How much time they need to manage their workload, how much time they need to manage themselves, how to plan their revision. Right now, your career masters, Mr. Odisa and the rest are the ones who are managing assignments, work sessions, and there are penalties. If you don't do your assignment on time, there's a penalty. At the university, it's up to you. What we will do is that we will penalize you with marks if you don't hand in your assignment. For me, I tell you, your assignment is due on such and such a date, and every day I don't follow you. You can hand it in on the last day, but there's a -5 mark penalty for every week that you're late. So if the assignment is out of 25 marks and you hand it in 4 weeks late, basically, even if you got 25, you will get a 0 out of 25. And these are rules that are laid out at the beginning of the lecture. We almost sign contracts and there's no negotiation. So students find lecturers to be very, very unfair, very, very mean. I have people writing me letters, waiting for me to plead. And hey, it's up to you. I'm not the one who's a student, you're the one who's a student. And sometimes this can be very, very tough for students, and it causes them a lot of stress. Now, revision and passing exams, the lectures are lectures, lecturers are lecturers. They come, they guide you, they give you your reading material, they give you your book list. It's up to you. Read it, not read it, we will meet in the exam room. And it can be very, very tough. And you can see this by the marks that are, you know, end up on the first year's transcripts. And usually the complaint is, nobody told me, hello, did you attend career week? Orientation, it was a 2-week orientation. Everything you needed to know about the next 4 years in your life was given then. Most people usually don't attend. So it's tough, it's not easy. So one needs to be streetwise. This is where you ask your career master. Every year has a career master. Every unit has an academic advisor. So there are 2 people in the department who you can consult about anything. We also have social managers. These are the counselors in the university. If you need to manage your social life, you can actually approach them. Where is this information? The information is in a booklet that is given to you when you register for you. Do people read those things? Usually, no. The other problem that we have is managing finances. Right now, your finances are being managed by your parents. In the university, I've made a list of the things that you need to pay for, usually school fees, rent, food, stationery, mobile phone units. You have to learn how to budget for this. And you have to be able to make sure that your money lasts to the end of the month or to the end of the semester. And it is very difficult for you to be asking your parents for money. Today, I need 500 shillings to manage everything, send it to me. So it's better to learn how to manage your finances so that you can be able to be given your money for a week. Hopefully, eventually, I hope you can be able to get your money for a month and you're able to manage yourself. As soon as you finish exams and you're 18 years old, please start becoming an adult. I remember my daughters coming and saying, okay, now I want to get an ID, I want to get a driving license. I would get paranoid. I'm like, oh my God, I don't want you to grow up. I don't want you to be an adult. But this is a life skill that you need to have at the university. So get an ID, get a driving license, get your passport, get an M-Pesa account, learn how to manage your M-Pesa account, get a bank account, get a student's bank account. Well, if don't open accounts in banks that are not near your university. So for instance, if you're admitted to a university like Jomo Kenyatta, we don't have Chase Bank there, or we don't have SBM, we don't have CBA. You have to bank with Cooperative, Barclays, Equity. Those are the banks that you will have. So a KCB, there's no point in opening accounts that you'll have to travel to Thika town to look for a bank where you can do your withdrawal. ATM cards and etc. Learn how to deposit cash, learn how to manage bankers' checks. There are students who give other students their bankers' checks to keep for them. And I was telling another student, you've given this guy a banker's check of how much to keep for you? That is cash. You're giving him your 150,000. All you need to do is to deposit that money into another student's account and fees have been paid. So do your sons know this, how to manage cash deposits and even deposit slips? When deposits are being made, make sure that deposit slip contains information of which fees account is being paid into. I mean, if that fees cash deposit slip drops somewhere in a matatu or something like that, and somebody else picks it up, they can go and pay for fees for another student. Okay, so what about savings? So students at the moment are used to having you take care of all their needs, but you should get to a point where students get a little bit more money than they have and they start savings. Yeah. So managing finances can be overwhelming for a first-time person, and this is something that they need to learn about. Well, with the male students, one thing I really worry about is their hygiene. With the girls, then they worry about what to wear. Sometimes I look at them and I say, you struggled to get here with those 3-inch heels. Okay, sour. How long has it taken to do your hair? Things like that. But with the boys, it's hygiene, just personal image. Like now, you should see how long beards are, how hair is. And it's because parents and Strathmore School, Mr. Odisa and the like, are the ones who manage how long your hair is or how it looks. And all of a sudden, when there's no one there to manage it, then they become a challenge. So hygiene is something that you need to start taking up to be your own personal thing. The other thing that worries students is they're finding their place in the class. If you're admitted into a public university, into an engineering class, you will have brilliant A+ students from all over the country, and all of a sudden you're challenged academically. And it can be discouraging for you when you realize that you're not as sharp as you thought as you were. And there are usually some guys who know things that you don't even know how they know them. Yeah, they challenge me in my class all the time. And sometimes this guy is not very coherent in his English, yet he's beating me in this, and it can actually be a source of stress. So the adjustment to the high level of freedom is one of the biggest struggles that I find. Managing a social life. This includes, well, in Juja, there's a party every day. There's something that is going down every night. And, the level of freedom can be difficult to manage. So on one side of the spectrum, you can have a student who is totally closed in, introvert, no social life, and bordering on depression. But on the other hand, you can find somebody who's a party hopper and going to all parties and experimenting with drugs and alcoholism. I remember walking around in Juja once, and one of my students comes and asks me, "Prof, have you ever seen cocaine?" I said, "No, I've never seen." So he opened a piece of foil and said, "This is cocaine." I was in shock, like, oh my God, are we going to be caught? This is what, it's everywhere. Anyway, so this student makes new friends, discuss what types of friendships are positive, which ones are negative, and obviously the big question about how to manage relationships with the opposite sex. Managing these social relations actually record the highest visits to the counseling services. Yeah, she's not talking to me, she's refused to pick my call, she has another man in her life, and yeah, it can cause depression and it can be very, very serious. I want to show you some results. Yeah, I'm a researcher, so I usually like basing my studies on my talks on results. This is a study that was done by a student doing a master's in Kenyatta University and talking about challenges facing university students. And if you can see this graph here, that the feeding habits were one of the most poor adjustment factors for students facing university. So you have students going to school hungry, and others who are actually not eating very, very well. Why? Because at the moment, the person who is managing nutrition is actually the parent. If you look at, this is another study that was done in University of Nairobi. What do students eat when they're in university? Yeah, you can see biscuits, chips, cakes. And if you ever are walking towards a university, even here, the skywalk on the way to University of Nairobi, if you've ever taken that bridge, you find people selling mandazis and cakes on the bridge. Because yeah, a student is hungry and they need something to eat, and this is very readily available. Look at the number of students who are eating fruits, yeah, and nuts, and milk, very, very little. Where do they get this food? The majority of students visit a fast food place. Only 25 visit the college cafeteria. 22% cook for themselves. Why? Because our students don't know how to cook for themselves. So one of the life skills that you actually do need before you go to university is learning how to cook a basic meal. Just learn how to make ugali and skuma and you'll be okay. This is a study that was done in Europe, measuring weight gain in freshman college students and their perceived health. And they found that students gained a maximum of 1.1 kilos in their first 3 months of university. 40% of the students changed their eating habits. Why? Because the parents are not there to give them the correct food. 30% consumed more alcohol. They were already consuming alcohol, but now in the university, they consume more. Students with weight gain experience hindrance in exercise and mental well-being. So they stopped exercising and they were depressed. And only students not having irregular eating habits wanted to change their lifestyle. This is another student that was done in Wageningen University in Netherlands. They also followed students for 4 years. And they found that they had changes in their body weights. I want you to have a look. So the black graph here is the male students. The gray one here is female students, and this one is average. So, but at the end of 4 years, the male students had gained an average of nearly 7 kilos. The female students, not so much, but they didn't gain weight because they were eating healthy. It's because they were starving themselves. So you gain weight, then you stop eating, then you go down, then you gain weight again. So they found this yo-yo habit with the female students. Look at the amount of fat mass that they gained, an average of 5 kilos in fat mass. And body fat percentages went up by, 5%. Look at the waist. This is the increase in the girth in the males. So they gained an average of 6 centimeters by the end of 4 years. Yeah, the ladies, not so much, because again, they were monitoring themselves. But when you looked at their body mass, so an increase in weight, an increase in the hips. So basically somebody was getting bigger. Yeah. In Kenya, the view is that there's an increase of 18% to 31% in weight, yeah? And most of the gain weights average 102 centimeters, excess of 102 centimeters around their waist. Boit, a Kenyan, found that in most universities, they have policies on alcohol and others, like we have an alcohol policy, but these policies are not lived, yeah? And he found that alcohol is readily available and accessible owing to the number of alcohol selling premises within the community and the use of alcohol during staff and student functions. And Ogiek reported a high rate of alcohol abuse among students at Kenyan private universities at 84%. Alcohol is readily available, it's sold in the student center. It's not sold during working hours. However, it's available on purchase. And if you walk outside the university, there are very many places somebody can get. Okay, so adjustment to academic program. How was the adjustment? The adjustment was only 40% for female and about 46%. So 50-50, one in two. For every two students who joined university, one adjusted well and one did not adjust well. The one who doesn't adjust well doesn't do well in anything, yeah. The poor adjustment was caused by students missing home, and this is true for all students, whether they're in Kenya or whether they're university in overseas. And this is mainly due to the learning environment. The learning environment is strange, the workload is high, and doubt starts creeping on whether they're doing the right course, and they begin to ask themselves, am I in the right state? Yeah, because if you're doing, say, engineering, you spend your first year learning mathematics and physics, and you're like asking, where is the engineering in this? And people start doubting. Also, the marks that they get discourage them. In school, there is a way in which you can jump from a C to an A very easily, but at the university, it's not so much. So when the C's start coming in, and it causes a bit of unsettling mind. How to write notes, how to study, how to score a good grade. These are skills that are needed at the university. It's not the same skill that you need at high school level. Should I join a study group or not? And the tendency to cramming will not make you pass at the university. You have to be able to have a good level of understanding, because critical thought is what is measured. I want to very quickly talk about the big W. And the big W is a trend that we see in students. So you have a honeymoon when you join, then you have a culture shock, then students start adjusting, and then they go down again. They have some mental isolation. And when they get to acceptance and integration is when they do very well. So as parents and as lecturers, our goal is to make these students navigate this W very, very quickly, get to the acceptance and integration stage. And that way they will begin to perform. So what is the honeymoon? This is where the student has gotten the acceptance letter. They're very, very excited. They're ready to work hard. They imagine themselves as professionals. Then they join the university, and the culture shock. First of all, those bathrooms, the students, maybe the lecturer, the rules, it hits them, and they're like, oh my God, where are we? And it can be very, very depressing. And this student dips in mental states and starts asking themselves, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right place? And it can be very, very depressing. Meanwhile, teaching is going on and somebody is missing it. Okay, yes, they are also dealing with conflicting values like laundry. Laundry is a big problem. Cooking is a big problem also at the university. And the routines are not rigid. Like I mentioned to you, you're left free to self-police. So then they start coping and they quickly, slowly come up to a place where they are beginning to adjust, they're getting support to manage. And this is where we as parents come in. We need to support our sons to be able to start adjusting very, very fast, find out what is happening and, and give them solutions. Why is it important? Because students who managed to transition better reported higher grades. And this study that was done by Wangeri recognized the importance of a good orientation week. That is the role of the university, but also such social support from parents and friends made it very, very important to help students settle down better. Then mental isolation. This is something that we need to discuss as parents, because the student has migrated out of the house, has gone to university, they have become young adults, they're managing themselves. However, they're caught between two worlds. University is not as comfortable as home, and they're missing home, they're missing their siblings, they're missing mom. But there is a lot of freedom at the university. So home is familiar, it's comfortable, but it's not as nice as it used to be. Why? Maybe you have moved things around. Maybe the pizza shop down the road is no longer available. So something happens in the home situation. Maybe you give away their bedroom. Maybe their younger sibling now moves into their room because they're not around. And the student can actually be left feeling homesick. And sometimes as parents, we contribute towards this, because when the student comes home, we forget that they are now managing themselves, and we treat them like, where are you? What time have you come? What matatu did you take? What time are you going? The guy feels, oh God, let me go back to the university. Then they go back to the university and they're like, oh God, look who's gonna wash all these things. Assignments are waiting for me. So they feel that they have some mental isolation. So we need to be able to help them so that they can now manage that phase and get into this acceptance and integration. Now, students who do not accept and make friends in campus, in their classrooms, do not adjust, and they always are strangers, and they're likely to drop out. And we as parents need to be able to support this process. So they cannot be coming home to only meet with the friends from church or from the choir. They need to make friends on campus, because you need to be street smart. You need to be able to also have group work and group sessions. And they also feel a better connection to the campus community. And when there's that acceptance and integration, they're likely to continue with their degree course and not drop out somewhere at the end. Also, we need to manage the students' expectations, and students need to manage the expectations, so that you can be able to, for you to become an engineer, this is what you need to go through, sort of like accept what needs to happen. And graduation, which will come 5 years down the road or 4 years down the road, will depend largely on the decisions that you're going to make now. So that degree choice is key to your graduation. So when you're making your decisions about the course that you're going to take, involve your parents, shadow somebody who is already in that profession, so that you can see whether this is what you want. Explore the options that are available, local, abroad, staying at home, not staying at home, and avoid pushing anyone into a course that they do not want to do. Then at the university, we find people are very sedentary. So whatever sports you're playing now, rugby or tennis or whatever it is, please continue with it, or any other extracurricular. If you're singing, if you're playing an instrument, continue with this, because it will actually help you navigate through this process. And I end there. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Madam. So that was very, very revealing to all of us. You reminded us about a few of the pitfalls that, well, we could have fallen into, and for our sons and daughters to be able to fall into as of now. So once again, I'm having a look at chat, but I don't think there are questions for you. Of course, the presentation was very, very clear. All right, so we appreciate that. So if there are no questions, then I'll just make a comment very quickly. So we seem not to be running late. We're actually very, very well on track, on time. Then I'd made an initial suggestion that we should target our chat questions to Strathmore, the host. I think it's much, much better, as has been suggested, that we use this general forum so that everybody knows what question has been asked. So the speaker is actually going to look through the chat questions and then answer whatever question is addressed to him or her. All right, so let's just use that particular way of doing things as much as possible. Okay, so I'm looking at the time right now, and it seems like we are very, very early because our break was supposed to start off at 10:45. Right now it's 10:23, yeah? So we are still quite on time. We are on track. Huh? Could we have that break starting off from now all the way up to 11 o'clock? Huh? So it'll be around 30 minutes, huh? Just to stretch and all that, huh? If that is okay with everybody. So you can just break off now, then we come back at 11 o'clock on the dot. So we'll have 3 more presentations. So the one immediately after break will be by Professor Mioli, and then followed by Professor Israel from Strathmore University. Then I'll finish everything off. So with your kind diligence, with your kind permission, let's break off until, no, what time is this? Sorry, 10:45, not 11, I'm sorry. So at, no, I'm getting my mathematics wrong. So let's break at this moment in time, we come back at 11. So let's come back at 11. Huh? I think that's okay. Huh? So see you then. Asanteni sana. The dot, I've already introduced Professor Meoli. So without much ado, Professor, if you're more or less set to go, the ball is in your court, the show is yours. Please enjoy yourself.
Right, thank you very much, Mr. Dimba. And good morning all parents and teachers and students. I've been given a very difficult topic, and the topic today is considerations. What does it take to study abroad? The pros and cons. So just to help you think about it. And as you can see, I've got as you have been introduced, you can see I'm a former parent of a Strathmore school. I'm an engineer, I'm a professor, and I also run the Kenya Education Network. So I've got many hats, and I'm a parent like you. And I've also had to make these difficult decisions of studying abroad. So I'll be sharing that experience. But most of this talk is really about asking questions. It's asking you to examine why you would consider studying abroad. So I think one of the first things that we want to ask ourselves is what is a good university? You've heard many things about careers from Ms. Margaret Waithaka, and Professor Muigai has explained to you how the university life is. And so I build on that. Everything they have said matters, but there is a way in which you choose a good university. And you're going to be doing that as you fill your cups. You're going to be doing that as you consider studying abroad. And I know there was the talk about careers and which career paths and whether jobs influence the degree.
Professor Meoli, you've muted yourself, unfortunately.
Yes, I have, yeah. Right, so there will be all these things about the degrees and the global outlook. So I'll give you a bit of information. I can't do very much in 15 minutes, but I will give you some hints as to how to think about this. So first of all, a disclaimer, studying abroad does not mean I don't support local universities. In fact, I work for an organization that is owned by local universities. And so you can see the dilemma I am in. And I actually work very hard to make sure that the Kenyan universities are good. So that's one of the disclaimers, and it will be a dilemma, and it will be a dilemma for you as well. Let's talk about university and what you want it to achieve. You have heard many things about careers, about everything else. But a university probably is 50% preparation for careers. I have taught many times in both in public and private at USIU, and USIU is very American. Yes, the talk is that 50% of your university life is about preparing you for a career. Then there is a very big part that is called general education, just expanding your worldview so that you have good, well-educated citizenry. And you get that from history, philosophy. It has nothing to do with the career, whether you're doing accounting or you're doing information systems. You should get this view of the world. Because it is helpful, and maybe that takes another probably 25 to 30%. And you are also, the students in the university are growing up. This is also when most of them find their future spouses. So for some students, if you talk to them carefully, they'll tell you only 50% of the university is curricular, and co-curricular is the rest of the time. And then a university kind of places you in an alumni network, an employment network, a social network, and it facilitates future lifelong learning. So those are the things that you want to be thinking about as you think about a university. Is not just the name, but they need to be helping your son to acquire those outcomes, because sometimes general education will be very important. You know, how to communicate is so important. And every year we find employers struggling with communication skills. I just want, before I go on, one of the disclaimers and one of the assumptions I made has something to do with what am I assuming these young sons of yours are going to become? You know, in a society by definition is structured. These are very, your sons have enjoyed good education so far. And in a lot of cases, I was a Strathmore student a long time ago. We were kind of being taught to get into the niche part of the world. You know, we were supposed to become the people who, you know, build things as engineers, the medical doctors, the researchers, you know. So let me make the assumption that in all this, I'm going to be making the assumption that your sons are probably going to be playing out their life at the very high end of society, in terms of at the cutting edge in terms of intellectual, being stretched intellectually, and being expected to be the inventors, the innovators, the people who are doing science, who will be doing COVID-19 research. So that's the person I am really talking to. And in a sense, that's what I, even now in my work, I promote. We discover researchers who are trying to do cutting edge research and are trying to do the most innovative things and support them. So there are 70 plus universities in Kenya. That's many. Many students. So many students are graduating, probably even 200,000 per year. And your son in 4 years' time, 5 years' time will be one of those. The other thing that is also true as you think about it, so there's a whole variety. You can find a university in every local county of yours. So you don't have to go to Jomo Kenyatta. You can go to Rongo if you come from Rongo, and that's important. You can go to Garissa. You can go to Meru. And they are of varying quality. And Professor Moigai is in the Commission for University Education. They look at them, so they probably could rank them, but they don't. They are all government. A lot of them are government, half of them are government, others are private. And it is really nice because 100% of the students now getting into public universities, a lot of them are sponsored already. If you get into the COOPS placement, you get a sponsorship and you pay 16,000 shillings for fees. So low cost of living, community and family, and over and top of that, some discrimination, specifically medicine, the law. They really encourage you. You know, if you didn't do your degree locally, you find it very hard to get into those professions. So there are so many downsides. So I just want to warn you, think about those things as you think about. Then the other bad side, and I know you thought about it, is that studying abroad is expensive. I think Professor Mugai mentioned it. There is tuition, South Africa is probably the cheapest overseas university. If you go to UK or US, you're paying a lot of money, unless there are a few scholarships. So, and yet in Kenya, it's cheap. You know, all you need to do is to pay the cost of living and a few things, and help is there to help them. So strictly speaking, you can almost count it apart from the pocket money, because help doesn't pay everything. There is quite a bit that is contributed by the household, probably at least 100,000 per year for living and other things. But even the private universities in Kenya are nowhere near the expense of abroad universities, whether it's your Strathmore University or USIU, they are affordable. Right, then there is a very big, and I didn't hear enough conversations about it. COVID has changed everything. It has disrupted university education, both here and abroad. A lot of students in the last 8 months spent time facing the screen as I am now, and a lot of us were teaching over the internet as we are now. And so if you are a foreign student, you got isolated immediately. Your family is not near, and then you are disconnected from the campus life. Without campus life, you are lost. So I know many parents who had students abroad. They quickly arranged for them in March last year to come back home because they didn't want them to stay in some room in the UK in winter, navigating online education. So they came in, and what they needed is good internet. So I know parents from UK, from South Africa, who quickly brought their children, either daughters or sons, back home. So there are very many downsides that, so COVID has introduced something new. Now, it also has introduced the fact that you can now study a degree abroad in the university of your choice while you are here, but then you miss the campus experience. Right. This slide is just telling you, let me skip it for the time being. Let me follow up with so why study abroad? Maybe you focus on quality. Maybe you have looked around and there's something more you want your son to get. And it can also be peer pressure. Their sisters or brothers went abroad. Preparation for global careers, maybe, yeah. A lot of the institutions that are setting up here, even Microsoft has a research institute in Nairobi now, and they hire globally for Kenyans. So sometimes it will be a graduate from America who comes to take the job. And the same thing with IBM Research Lab that was set up here. It took a lot of people in the diaspora. So maybe you want to join a global alumni. But just remember, a good local university is still the best experience in my opinion. So when you are going abroad, you must be looking for something else. Now, let's talk about a little about quality. Because this is one of the things that troubles us as parents, it troubles us as lecturers, it troubles the country. And unlike Anne, I didn't compile all the statistics, but Nairobi is said to be one of the innovation hubs in Africa. But a lot of those hubs, if you do a study, are actually not started by Kenyans. They employ Kenyans, but they are not started by Kenyans. They're started by people who studied somewhere else, and we have been wondering what is going on. Is it the alumni network that is working, and therefore they get funding? So South Africa has got some of the top universities. The top university in Africa is University of Cape Town, ranked at 155 in the Times Higher Education ranking, while University of Nairobi comes at about 600. And that ranking, and there are many rankings, University of Oxford is number 1, probably as expected. THE is based in UK, and Stanford University is number 2. But I want you to think about quality in very many ways. Quality has several dimensions, and they are multiplicative. I normally define quality of university education to be equal to the quality of students, that is, what type of students get admitted, times, it's multiplicative, times the quality of the faculty, what's the group of lecturers they have been able to attract. If you are in one university in Kenya, you might not attract the same quality of lecturers as a university in Nairobi. And then the quality of the learning environment, the labs, everything, including the hostels, are part of that learning environment, the libraries. Notice they are multiplicative. If any of them goes to 0, the quality drops down. So in Kenya, most universities admit very good students. So we score very highly. There is a continuum. There are good universities that have traditionally attracted very good professors. And then what we struggle with is the learning environment, because it's about investments in the classrooms, in technology, in everything. And you need to visit them. Even when you go abroad, you still need to visit to know those things. And of course, many of those things are influenced by the way the universities are managed. So I've given this talk both at Strathmore here and at Kianda, and I normally say, if you are choosing, and if you want to assign, if you are choosing a university, just remember the culture of a university is very important. That is the student community. What's the culture of it? It has a very big influence on your students. They might have learned something from Strathmore, but the university can change that culture in 1 or 2 years. Of course, the social network. Good universities have got a good alumni, which means the students get employment, or they get opportunities much more easily. They are not always LinkedIn, but they are in the network. And then the university learning environment is very important, because universities, you learn on your own most of the time. The lecturers are important. And then, so I don't consider the global ranking too important, despite the fact that it is one of the things in the brochures that will be, when you are looking at universities, it will be out there. But it is not always the most important. And that's why local universities, which probably do not get into the global ranking, are still important. And of course, cost. Just let's make the assumption that you are ready. So if you want to go abroad, you are ready for that. Yeah. So do not worry too much that the new university in Kenya is ranked number 1,000 in the Times Higher Education. It's not so. It's important, but also not so important. It's probably more important at graduate level. So these are the things that I have already said something about this, abroad cultural influences. And when you come back, we'll use settle. We'll use settle into the local jobs, into the local environment. If you have been used to living in California, when you come back to Nairobi, will your son struggle to settle? Because you have set very high standards and they come here and they're adjusting. Or are they better off adjusting slowly to the local environment? So cultural influence, that's what I mean. But also having good social network. COVID-19 has taught us how important it is good to be supported for our mental health. So disclaimer, I've had the experience, I've had to make these decisions in the past probably 8 years. We sent 2 of our girls to the University of Cape Town in South Africa. They were going to do engineering, and we made the decision that it was a good, that's the way it went. Now, we can judge maybe in 3, 4 years, 5 years, we can judge whether we made the right decisions, but that's what happened. And they did very well. And it was affordable, yeah, even by a professor like me. Professors don't get paid a lot. And we didn't have to go through any matriculation or any bridging courses. We didn't have to struggle with all that. But our son studied here. He studied at my university at USIU and has now graduated. So we see the 2 environments. The children choose. We don't necessarily force them. They choose. Maybe a little guidance, but not much of a choice. Now let me talk about jobs as I complete. Let me talk about jobs, even if you are told to do another survey of how you get on, because there is nothing as bad as being unemployed. Doing a 5-year engineering course in Kenya and then finding yourself without a job for a year or 2, or getting very unstable jobs, I have dealt with many young graduates. It's one of the most difficult things. So I think it is a good thing to consider the employment opportunities offered by the degree. Yeah. Right now, if you look at COVID-19 and the research going on, science is very important. So having a science degree in genetics, in one of those, is very important. But the problem is in Kenya, we don't always are able to absorb a large number of good scientists. So we find ourselves that the degree of marketing is finding the job faster than the degree, or the degree of accounting is finding the job faster than the top scientist with a first-class degree, or even a top engineering graduate. So you need to think about it. And we need to think about jobs in terms of the problems we are trying to solve, because like in a house, the jobs are created by what is required to be done in the house, like house chores. They have to be done. And we think of a country in the same way. We have got to have teachers, we've got to have engineers, doctors, and all. But the reality is that there is very high youth unemployment. And the good news is that the jobs of those who stay at the top and are well educated. So if you're a good student from Strathmore, there is still, because you are mainly graduating, only a few are getting jobs. So you really need to shine. You need to do the degree and do it well, and supplement it with lots of other skills around it. And then there is who is creating new jobs. It's the small businesses, startups, and all. So the startup environment is very important. And sometimes some universities start you off. I can tell you that places like Africa is talking, and others have been, there is a tendency. MIT used to take a lot of Kenyan students, and a lot of those Kenyan students came back and started local businesses. And then we always wondered why they have such a high success. So they went to a top university, but they also came back and solved a local problem and became big businesses. Like Africa is talking, I think Mr. Gekandi is an MIT graduate. So it is possible for somebody from outside to come back and see an opportunity locally. And maybe that's what will have to happen. Globally, the IT jobs are big, but they need to be the very good, the software engineering, software development, not just IT in terms of knowing how to use Zoom, but actually IT in terms of how to build systems. And then data science is coming up, but again, the job absorption level is not as high as we would like it to be. But on top of that, obviously, yeah, you do need to go to a university that teaches critical thinking skills, how to think. And I can tell you, we employ young computer science or engineering graduates at Kenneth, and we spend about a year teaching them how to think fast before teaching them about all the other critical skills, technical skills that they need. So that's so if a university abroad is going to be a better fit for you, do the analysis and then count the cost. Now, the interesting thing is that as you had, many university systems force students to choose the degree too early. But if you go to the North American, and even USIU, they give you a choice of 2 years so that the student can discover themselves, because they are doing general education, and strictly speaking, they can move from one degree to the other. I've always had this applies both to local and abroad. And it was also true in my days. Choose the broader degree program, because you don't know. You are being prepared for the future, and the future is, many of the jobs you'll do in the future have not yet been invented. So we are preparing you for that future. So the degree is not really just supposed to teach you some skills applicable next year. It's supposed to prepare you for the skills you need in 10 years, in 20 years. And that's why sometimes, yeah, some of those STEM courses help, but any degree course done well works well. The professional degree programs, if your son is aiming at professional degree programs, they are probably not going to go abroad. They are probably better off staying here. Medicine, it's better to stay here. Engineering, you can come from abroad and join, but again, an architecture, but a lot of them, it's better to be grounded here. But there are so many other jobs that are not these few traditional jobs we used to have: engineering, medicine, and teaching. Yeah. Right. So I give this example, top universities like MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, teach their degrees in a very interesting way. You can be doing engineering, electrical engineering in particular, but you are doing life sciences, because they are finding that life sciences are very important for the innovation. These are people who's probably are being prepared for top jobs in the Silicon Valley and in those developed countries. So it might be that when they come back here, they will struggle to adjust. But again, who knows? Because you are preparing us for 20 years, who knows what Kenya will be in 20 years? Maybe it will be the Silicon Valley of Africa. And it has been doing quite well in that. So what universities abroad do is that they stay on top. And so they are looking at the next big thing, and they are preparing their graduates for those next big things that will happen 10, 20 years from now. So that can be a consideration. But I want to let you know, be very careful that you know your son very well, because these top universities abroad, can be also very stressful. Professor Mugai said, even when you join a university, you discover that you are there are many A students that have been put together from different schools in Kenya. Now, when you go abroad, there are many A students that have been put together from China, India, the US, and you can find yourself being one of the very average students, and that can be quite stressful. So there is a university for every student. Yeah, do not go to a top university if you are really not a top student. So I wanted to close by saying most jobs will be created by startups and local innovations, and Kenya is doing quite well with innovation hubs, some of them starting in local universities, and that is a good thing. And also attracting the global companies like Microsoft or IBM to come and set up in Nairobi to take advantage of the community. So your son can come back and join one of those and be the creator of these new jobs that need to be created for Kenya and for Africa. So the global degree, which degrees again, STEM is focused, but as I told you, that Kenya at this time has a very big absorption capacity for STEM degree, but the rest of the world is absorbing all STEM degree graduates. Even Joe Biden is saying any of the PhDs in STEM areas, from whether they are from Africa or India, should not be allowed to go back home because he has jobs for them. So again, it depends on how you are thinking. You're probably thinking of placing your son in the global work environment, or them coming back and creating new employment, or getting right to the top. But the enabler degrees are still very important. You know, who does not need an accountant? Everyone needs them. So that's probably, in conclusion, I can tell you is that count the cost. Everything, living expenses should not be left out. Even in Kenya, living expenses are not low. The student has got to live, has got to be dressed, and because there are very few jobs for students in Kenya, all that is coming from the household. HELB only finances probably at most 50% of the costs. Then you need to think about the careers you want to prepare your son for. And then there is a social cost, because when you disrupt them and you take them as very young at 19 to 24 outside, they lose their friends in Kenya, and that is not very good for the long term. And then think about if they want to be in professional degrees, then they need to think about the entire accreditation requirements. But the most important thing is to remember the degree is preparing the students for lifelong learning. It can be in anything, even those who are said to have made a mistake. I know many of my contemporaries who did engineering and then discovered they were better at economics, and they did a postgraduate degree in economics and became even PhDs in economics. So you don't lose much so you don't think about, if you are doing a good degree, just do it. It can still be the launching pad for doing something else along the way. In fact, Harvard Business School MBA programs are probably 70 to 80%, the students are 70 to 80% coming from engineering degree programs. So they make a very quick decision to go into business and run businesses. So the degree just needs to be good and in a good university. And that's what you are investing for now in the next 4 or 5 years for your son. That's what you want to invest in. So again, always do not forget the career trends. And the World Economic Forum tells you where the world is. So that's what I had to share with you. And if you have any questions, you can post them. I will leave my email address, and this presentation, I guess, will also be sent to the school and circulated. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Professor. So you've told us quite a bit about studying abroad. I, for one, must say that out of the 3 presentations that have been given so far, I've learned everything in each presentation, including yours. So, asante sana. We really appreciate
Right.
you
The,
in giving us a
the,
bit of insight. Thank you.
thank you. My pleasure.
All right. So, without much ado, I do believe that we do have the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Strathmore University with us. That's Professor Israel Da Silva. And
Right.
he's basically going to talk to us about opportunities at Strathmore University. And I think he's really going to focus on the new School of Engineering. So, Professor Israel, I would like to welcome you first and foremost. And then secondly, I'd like to just open up the floor to you. You can share whatever screen that you want. You've got the rights. Karibu sana. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I greet Prof. Meoli Kashorda. I don't see him very often, but I'm so glad to have seen him and listened to him. Thank you, Prof.
Right, thanks.
Right. So I want to make my presentation divided into two bits. I took a lot of notes from the presentation of Prof. Kashorda, so I learned a lot. and I will now talk to you knowing that you also have heard him and that you got some good ideas about the education of your children. Yeah, so I do believe that parents are there, teachers are there, and also some students are there. So I'm glad that Strathmore School has provided this platform for me to speak. So the first part of my talk is about what Prof was saying regarding
Okay, it seems like we've lost Prof briefly. So let our administration try to really bring him in. So it looks like a small glitch on his part. So in the meantime, I just beg you to just hold on. He should be coming back very, very, very soon.
All right, I am back. I actually need some explanation. I don't know what happened. John, I am back, but I don't know what happened.
Okay, it's
Yeah.
okay. You can continue.
Okay, so I have to continue, but I need to be given that right again, I think, to share screen or the co-host, because they say we're not allowing you to unmute.
No, you've actually been given the co-hosting
Very
facility.
well. Thank you.
You can, yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I am back. And yeah, so let me see whether I start video, it will appear in one of these times. But let me continue. What I was telling is that I am talking from the position of being someone who works in Strathmore University. I've been here for 10 years already. And this reminds me that perhaps would be a very important thing to tell you who is this guy, who is Prof. Da Silva. So I am a Brazilian by birth, but I am an African by choice because I have joined Africa on my own. I decided to come to this continent in 1997, and it is now coming to 42 to 24 years, and which puts me in a position that I am more African than 50% of the Kenyans, yeah, because I have been living here more more time than to people who were born after 1997. So my profession is just like Professor Melly Kashad. I'm also an electrical engineer, and my area of specialization is power systems, generation, transmission, distribution, and I have kind of transformed myself. This thing that Professor Kashad was saying, that as you get a good degree, you have that flexibility to change your career one way or another. So when I came here in 1997, I was in Makerere. I stayed there for 13 years, and my PhD was so useless for the status of the country. In order to perform in what I did was calibration of voltage transformers for substations, which is something very crazy. I needed a A-class laboratory, and there is no A-class lab in Africa. So I had to go either to the US or Germany. And so I changed. I became interested in renewable energy. And that's why I became a full professor in renewable energy and energy efficiency, which is now is my profession. In fact, people call me Onyango Solar or Kamau Solar, if you want. I am committed to renewable energy, and I am actually aware that there is a revolution going on right now under our very noses, that Africa is going from fossil fuel to renewable energy. Is a real revolution. And also, of course, we are also going from centralized systems that you have a huge power station in Takwel or in Alcaria, and then there are transmission lines that take that energy to a consumption center, say in Athi River in Nairobi here. Now, what happens is that there you have generation, transmission, distribution. And this thing has proved to be quite expensive because of the investment in generation, in transmission and distribution. But just imagine if you are able to produce your energy exactly in the place where you consume your energy, which means your compound, be it commercial, industrial, or residential. You immediately have knocked off investment in transmission and distribution, and this is great. So this is a revolution also going on right now. And finally, a third revolution is that we are going into digitalization. So there is decarbonization, decentralization, and digitalization, meaning that it's no longer that you have a generation, a transmission, a distribution, and then you consuming there. At the end, as the end consumer, you have a socket, you plug in your phone or you plug in your computer. No, this is no longer like that. We have smart meters, we have smart cities, we have smart grid, and everything is moved by the computer. There is Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. Your fridge may send you an SMS telling him, we don't have eggs, please buy eggs. You know, because it has a camera there, has been checking for those interesting shaped things, and they are not there. So this is the thing. Or then you put some clothes to wash in your machine says, sorry, would you mind if I started this thing in 5 hours time, because now is peak, stuff like that. So we are in digitalization. Everything is smart and everything talks to each other. And besides, you as an individual, you can produce power in your own compound, and you consume it, and if you have some to spare, there is a regulation right now that empowers you to sell power to Kenya Power. So you are no longer a consumer, you are a prosumer. That is a producer and consumer at the same time. Yeah, so those are the things that are changing in just before our eyes, and we want to be aware. You want to be aware that if you are an engineer, you have to go that way. It was very interesting, and I want to perhaps share a screen with you to show you that this letter. I hope you can see my screen. If you
Yes,
can,
yes, we
yeah,
can.
so this is a letter from IBM to me saying, IBM academic initiative support to your upcoming engineering degree. Basically, what these people from IBM research lab is telling me is that saying we have been successful with our student development program where we train professionally the students while they go about their academic training with skills such as big data, analytics, cloud computing, programming, to quote but a few. I could add artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, Internet of Things, etc. And then it says these training courses infuse important software capabilities to students that are industry specific and market relevant. Because I think it's very poignant, the reality of having a kid of yours who goes through say 5 years degree, if he or she decides to do engineering and eventually finishes and doesn't get a job. It is so sad. Now, this is a way that we actually in Strathmore try to do things such that that investment of yours in that degree, in that son of yours, it has to bear fruit. They have to get salaries as begin working their professional life, and they have to get inverted commas return in your investment. So this is what we do. We say LIWA, linking industry with academia. So this is actually in the DNA of this institution I work for, which is Strathmore University. So what happens is that in Strathmore, all of you, most of you, or I think all of you, parents and guardians, and you have your kids who went through Strathmore School. So which means that you know what we are up to. The awarding of academic degrees in IT, say computer science or informatics or BCom, finance, actuarial sciences, law, etc. This is not our main target. Strathmore's main target is to build good human beings. The second most important thing we do is to offer your kid a very good quality degree. And you have to remember what Prof. Meoli Kashada told us, that quality is students times faculty times learning environment. If any of those three goes to zero, you get zero as a result. I like that one very much. So this is the thing. You have to, what do you want for your son or your daughter? You want him or her to be a functional person. You want him or her to be a good adult. You want him or her to be a mature person. And then what I think Prof. Meoli Kashad was mentioning because his talk was basically about going abroad, you may send a kid abroad, and then depending on the ethos, on the culture of that good university, you send him or her, because the ranking it shows that they are on the top 100. It doesn't tell you that perhaps they also, in the way they run that institution, they defend values which for yourself are not values. Yeah, you may have a problem in that when your kid comes back, say 4 years down the line, you don't know him or her. Say, now who is this kid? Is it my son? You know, things like that. So it's an interesting thing that I really believe that you have to think, because one thing that when I begin my second part of the presentation, which is about the Strathmore School of Engineering, I will tell you. But before here, what Prof. Kashad was saying, university culture, social network, alumni, learning environment, faculty, all those things, we take a very special care because we are people-centered. I just tell you, I think which looks almost like a joke, but it is not. We have about 6,000 students in our campus. Out of these 6,000, and here I'm going to shock you because I am almost sure you don't know, we have about 1,600 students on scholarship. We have something called FAO, Finance Aid Office, and we try to get people from, Ajir, from, say, Narok, from Transoia, and then this is the thing, we scout to have a very nice blend of kids here. And now this is the basis for my story. I'm going out of the main door of the campus here in Sangali, and then I see a young man coming in. And then I feel interested in that gentleman. So I follow him. And then I say, excuse me, how are you? Say, fine. What's your name? And then eventually he will tell me it's Brian or Steve, doesn't matter. He says, no, Steve, can I ask you a question? And he says, yeah. I will ask him, did you bathe today? Because you see, as he passed, I sensed something. So now this is my kid. I am interested in him. I want to know whether he has bathed today, whether he has good hygiene standards, whether he knows that deodorants exist. You see, this is the issue. People, because that gentleman, despite of being coming from a place, perhaps he wouldn't have daily shower, is a brilliant character, which 3 or 4 years down the line, which has happened to this one particularly, has graduated with a first class, being from Narok. So what am I saying? I'm saying that what is important are these things, is the culture. And then we have things like the dress code, It is a controlled environment. We have the ladies there at the entrance of our premises now, they call them fashion cop. If the young man comes with the open shoes or Bermudas or a t-shirt, then he will be told that he has to go elsewhere and put on some more whatever, a polo shirt and perhaps another shoe. So, or a young lady who comes with, say, a too revealing dress or some spaghetti there. I came to learn this stuff. And then they are going to be told that they have to dress properly. But you see, it's a controlled environment. But after 4 years on this thing, they end up loving it. They enjoy it, And then they can put on, the men, on a jacket and a tie, and they walk like kings. And they say, wow, this kid, I feel like taking a selfie with him, you see. So this is very important, and we are after it. How do we do that? What Prof was saying, Kashad was saying, that these things will give the kids classes in the core subjects that are in ethics, principles of ethics, because we know how corruption is. We give them talks on philosophy, introduction to philosophy, critical thinking, anthropology, communication skills 1 and 2, and then is critical thinking. All these we give because we understand that more important than being a good actuarial or being a good lawyer who can beat Harvard in a moot contest organized by World Trade Organization, it is important that he or she is a happy person, is a functional person, is somebody who is a good human being. And on top of that, you now can put the skills so that she is a good actuarial also, or he is a good, say, engineer. Now, the second thing that we do, and guess what? These 12 subjects that we give, they are not required by our regulators. You know, the authority that regulates third level education in Kenya is called Commission for University Education, Q. Now what happens? They don't ask us to do that. And then why do we do that? Because as we put 12 more subjects and then things like language, we want that young one to pick a language. Can be Chinese, can be Japanese, can be French, can be German, or can be Spanish. Those are the 4 ones we offer. We want, and then a kid comes and says, Prof, why do you want me to learn French, man? I already know English, I already know Swahili, I already know my mother tongue there, I'm from Muranga, you know, and then you want me to learn French? He says, yes, sir. The idea is that we are building you for export. And if you have French, you know, the chance of you getting a UN job is higher than someone who knows only English. So those are the kind of stuff that we say we put there are prerequisites. You have to pass those subjects in order to graduate. And then guess what? Our degree becomes more expensive than the other universities. And who pays for it? Yourself. The parents, they have to pay. And then, of course, if they don't agree with this idea of all-round education and in an environment of freedom and responsibility, it is okay, because the other institutions are committed to, in their mission and vision, to build a good skill, a technical skill of your kid there. And whether he is smelling funny or not is really none of their concern. Or perhaps even how they live in if they are not from Nairobi and they have in a hostel. And for us it is, we go around, we don't have yet a hostel, we are building one. Hopefully in about 6 months, we may tell you a different stories. There is something called Parallel 4 near here. But we audit all the hostels around so that we tell the parents, look, don't put your kid there, because, I mean, those guys have bed bugs, or the food is not good, or security is not okay, whatever, no? Anyway, we don't say that. We just say the positive. And this and this and these are the ones that we advise, yeah? Because, yeah, a human being is at the center of everything. So the second thing that I say humanities. Then the second thing is called an enable environment. Do you remember Kashada saying about learning environment? So this campus is the only campus we have. Strathmore University has no other campus in anywhere in Kenya or abroad, but in this campus we have a very good internet. So it is a hotspot. So your kids can, as they get in, they get a laptop, and then they can now download the 8 million titles of things that we have in the library very fast. We using our local internet, our Wi-Fi system here. It costs money to give the laptop, to add. We also put the thing of infrastructure for the speed of downloading things. But guess what? This also helps us, because then we don't need those interesting things of the past, like computer lab, you know? Yeah, so computer lab is now, well, the kid sits on we have some nice trees around here, yeah, or gazebos, and then they sit there, and then they are enjoying reading their ebooks, and this is something that helps. But then another thing is punctuality is there. They have to be at 8:15 in class. If they are not, trouble. And then if they have to have attendance, 67%. If no 67%, they can't sit for the exam. They have to take the subject again. Well, it seems some kids may find it is too much control. I don't want it. That's okay then. And then they are free, because most of this control is not there in the other institutions where perhaps that degree he or she wants is being offered as well. But here, the parents have to come like you come for the school, because we are in a project which is not purely academic. You want to build this creature, to make him or her the happiest kid around, sowers of joy and peace, very mature people who take care of others, etc. So, okay, humanities, okay, enable environment, cleanliness, gardens, and each and every lecturer here, as you know, we hire them part-time. Then if after the first 1 year, we now can negotiate whether we can get a full-time contract, because it's both way. It may be that lecturer doesn't like this control and to be uploading the attendance every day after class, etc. So may not like, but also if we find something is there which would not be very good for this all-round education in that individual, we will not just not have a full-time contract, so that our lecturers are role models for your son or for your daughter. And this is the way we are because of the mission we have. So the humanities enable environment. And then the other thing that we give, which is very important, is the issue of the common good has to be above the private good. Now, all of us are wired to think about ourselves first. That is normal. But here, we train them in Aristotle to live the good life. And the good life, according to Aristotle, is the pursuit of virtue, the pursuit of helping others, so that when you help others, you are happier than the one who is helped. So we have here the so-called COP, Community Outreach Program. 3 months of his or her life to be given to orphanages, hospitals, disadvantaged primary school, up countries, etc. So this thing is a must. They have to go to pass. There is a supervisor there on the ground in that orphanage, and there is a supervisor here in the university. The two together, they make sure that, yes, this individual is learning by herself how she can be a solution for the problems of Kenya. And you don't need to bring the Americans here to sort us out, because we have all that it takes. So this is the thing, no? Service above self. You don't dash for the mandasis when there is an event. You wait, let people take. If eventually, they say leaders eat last. Yes. So one day there was an event in Gigiri, and we took 350 people there. 50 were from Strathmore, and the other 300 we got from other universities. So they were there. When there was the break, people, of course, dashed for the mandasis. Young people, they eat a lot, they like it. But then this kind of 50 people where they sensed a bit the thing, says, okay, let the avalanche cool down, then after we go there. And one of the guys facilitating noticed it, and then came and says, you guys, you're not going for the mandasis and tea? He says, yeah, but let cool down a bit. And then the man was impressed and asked, where are you from? So this is important. This is important. You can't have a person who is selfish, who is thinking about himself. I say the pusher and grabbers, those who don't believe in queues, don't believe in control. No, that's such kind of things we don't accept here. And finally, you see, I have mentioned humanities, I have mentioned enable environments. Now I mentioned the idea of service above self. And finally, there is mentoring, which is where we help them to discover their talents, their good abilities, their gifts that sometimes they haven't yet even managed to discover that they have, and therefore they are there unwrapped. I would like to think that we could have Friday afternoon, we don't have classes, to have them singing, playing the violin, or because Strathmore has talent, kind of, yeah. So those are the 4 things that I wanted to tell you, and this is for all the degrees in Strathmore. If you come here to do BCom or to do actually actuarial, or to do law, or to do electric and electronic engineering, the same humanity is going to be be given to all of you, and then the same learning environment, and then good faculties, so that you actually can graduate. And then what Prof. Meli Kashad was saying that is interesting. You don't lose your friends in Kenya. You don't become a foreigner in your own country because you went out for 4 years, you come back and you don't know people, you know, that kind of thing. So is the one I want to stop, and then allow me for 5 minutes to take you through the newest degree we are offering in Strathmore, which is a Bachelor of Science in Electric and Electronics degree. So this one, when I came here in 2010, Prof. Odiambo told me, I want you to do 2 things for me. One, put us in the global map of renewable energy and energy conservation in the planet. And then the idea, we created this thing called SERC, Strathmore Energy Research Center. We teamed up with the Enel Foundation in Italy. We teamed up with a number of other partners abroad. And we went ahead and we made Strathmore to be the only zero carbon footprint university in the whole of Africa, because we have a 0.6 megawatt solar system here, which powers everything in campus, including the lifts and the fries in the kitchen. So we have it, and we are a very green campus. We want to create that concept that anybody who graduates from here is green. A green lawyer, a green accountant, a green financier, a green actuarial, a green mathematician, a green communication person, things like that. So we actually, United Nations liked the idea, and then they created something called KIGUN, Kenya Green University Network. We are 17 universities trying to create a green environment around us, so that we recycle plastic, we recycle paper, we recycle glass. We try to make use of, like for instance, biodigesters to create methane, to avoid buying LPG, etc. So everybody goes green around here. So this is an interesting thing that we want to do. And then this engineering, electrical engineering, in this School of Engineering and the name is School of Computing and Engineering Sciences. Huh? So what is there? If you want, let me see when I put this thing in a presentation mode for you. Yeah, we have our values, the idea that we want an engineer who is somebody responsible for the environment. We don't want the engineer to be the one who destroys the environment. No, he or she has to make sure that with his skill or her skill, they can leave this world a better place, yeah, and more human. So if you are making a lot of money, but you are polluting the environment, if you are making a lot of money, but it's because you are producing charcoal and you are promoting deforestation in Kenya, that has only 7% of the land covered by forest, whereas you get Uganda has 25, and the Cameroon has 75% of coverage. So it is sad. We want them to be engineers that are guardians, masters of the universe, not destroyers. So that's the kind of value we have. The vision, you can see we are now aligned up to 2030 to the so-called Sustainable Development Goals. Number 4, quality education. Number 5, gender equality. We are at...
excuse me, Prophet.
Yes, sir. I can't hear you. David, I can't hear you.
You're making, we can't see it. We can only see the letter that you had put up before, saying that we can only see the letter.
Ah, yes, I can. Let me stop sharing. Then no, my apologies. Let now share the screen, and then I do this. And then I think now you can see or you cannot.
Perfect. We can.
All right, very well. Thank you for informing me. I could be going like this forever. So yes, so the idea is this, no, that the idea of sustainability. One thing that you may not know because it's just 1 month old information is that Strathmore University has won a chair, an academic chair from UNESCO, the United Nations Education, Science and Culture Organization, UNESCO, on climate change, mitigation, and sustainability. So it is a chair where we are going to, our university becomes the so-called twin university. This university now, with this chair, can twin with another university, say in Europe, in America, or in Asia, and together they can create a project that can be sponsored by UNESCO, and then you can implement it wherever. So it's a very interesting thing because it is important that we do pick best practice from abroad and incorporate here. So the twin, unitwin, and you can check the internet if you want, is chairs, UNESCO chairs. So because all our kids all our kids in this university, if they do, they are the pioneers now. They are in class since the 18th of January. And then, of course, we got 30 because this year, as you know, there was no KCSE. So 30 are there, but we will admit 70 in June for electrical and electronic engineering. So the idea is, you see, look at the scenario. The International Monetary Fund and the World Economic Outlook of 2020 says that half of the world's fastest growing economies are in Africa. So we are growing. You see, also, whereas Asia, the number of people birth are dwindling, and then you have an aging society like Japan, and then also in Europe, you have Spain and Ireland and France and Italy who have no kids. So they are losing their culture because they are not producing the next generation. Whereas in Africa now, the average is 4.1 children per woman, which means come 2040, we'll be close to 2 billion Africans. That's why IBM said, let's create a project called Africa Digital Nation, and let's train the young Africans. It is free. There are more than 300 of the students of Strathmore doing this, who engaged in this IBM Africa Digital Nation. Take note, you can check in the internet, where you are going to engage yourself in those things of Internet of Things, the artificial intelligence, big data, cybersecurity, cloud computing, etc., for free. In Europe, it is charged. In America, it is charged. In the top countries of Asia, it's charged. In Africa, it's not, because they have seen the potential. We are going to be there. Every 5 human beings in 20 years, in 2040, will be an African. One will be African. So 20% of the globe will be us. So that is important, no? To develop. And then if you see what are the degrees that are selling, electrical engineer, civil engineer, mechanical engineer, as you can see in this study that was made. So I continue. We are offering this year Bachelor of Science Electrical and Electronic Engineering. Then next year we plan to offer mechanical, and then the other year we plan to offer civil. Then we will have the three coordinate. We have been working very well with the Engineering Board of Kenya. We are also going to make use of our laboratories. We have very nice labs, and we hope to have more, but we are going to be using, like this one you are seeing, is a very interesting contraption that simulates how you can give power to Lodwar. Lodwar is far from here. They have a very weak link that with the national grid, but they have storage. They have a 600 kilowatt generator, and they have been hybridized. They have 600 kilowatts also of solar. So this scheme you are seeing here, it plays everything: solar, storage, generator, and the grid. And this is automatic. So we are teaching people here with our Strathmore Energy Research Center, engineers from Kenya Power. We have trained more than 3,500 engineers and technicians. And these are things that your kids, if they do engineering here, they will learn. They have to touch, they have to be updated in this kind of knowledge. So hopefully when we have the three, then we can go to biotechnology. Perhaps GE or Philips can give us some $20 million laboratories. So we are going to be dealing with those things like scans, imaging, and etc. Very well. The duration is 5 years. We are on the 18th. That is a request for prayers also. On the 16th to 18th, we are having Q coming here for an auditing, and we would like them to give us the accreditation of this degree, because we have submitted already all the syllabus, everything. So they are coming to check on internet, laboratories, lecture halls, interview students, interview the lecturers, and then they think. But our idea is to work together with the Engineering Board of Kenya to use these labs of ours also for people who are already graduated, but they have some deficiency in labs, in technical, practical things. So they can be using our labs here, because perhaps our utilization is only 30%, so 70% of the time it is idle. We use it to work with EBK, so that when they graduate, your kids graduate, they can immediately be a professional registered engineers. Okay, I think I perhaps, let me see here. This is the history from 2014. Yeah, we began organizing this thing. The school began in January 2021, and they are there. We have a number of brilliant characters. 10 are on scholarship that we got from Enel Foundation, and some local people here have given us 3 scholarship as well. So we are admitting people. If you are bright, if you have an M- and a straight A, please come and apply. You may get the scholarship, and then we'll be able to pay less. Join that 1,600 students in our campus here who are enjoying quality education, but without paying too much. Okay, what are the minimum things there? Grade B- general, and then a minimum B+ in English, math, physics, and chemistry, if it's there, but any of like math, physics. Then you in Strathmore is normal. You do a written tests of English and mathematics, and then a fit interview, a oral interview, and that is it. So we are trying to get these kids to align with the 17 SDGs. Also, we ask them, please have your passport ready, because we are making, through Enel Foundation, a partnership with 300 institutions, industrial institutions in Europe, where they could be offered an internship. We want them to go abroad to learn nice things which are strategic for us here in Kenya, and come back and then sort this thing out. So the Kigun, I already told you, Kenya Green University Network, internship abroad, strategic areas for Africa. The JIP is what we want to do with the Engineering Board of Kenya, which is Graduate Engineers Enhancement Program. And then, of course, the mentorship, so that from the very day one, they can begin doing things that can show them where is their interest, how they could profit from some good knowledge that they saw in a professor, and then now they are doing some CDE, that is Challenge Direct Education, with those lectures. Very well, end of my presentation. I don't know whether you want to have some Q&A. I am ready for that. Yes, for the next 15 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor. I hope you can hear me very well.
Very well.
All right, so there are 2 questions that are already in chat. So if I can just read them
All
out to
right,
you. So one
please do so.
person,
Let me
yeah. So
What is the cost, for instance? Okay, it is
yeah,
about 520,000 per year.
okay.
520,000 per year. Yeah, if you are to pay full tuition, that is that. Yes.
Okay. Then second question, the one just above that, yeah? So I don't know if you're
Yes.
able to start with Strathmore offer a degree in renewable energy production. I don't know if
Yeah,
you're able to.
okay. I am a, you see, this Strathmore Energy Research Center is a competency center that has been trained engineers, seasoned engineers already in grid tie solar system, in small wind, in biodigesters for production of methane for the purpose of generating power. We actually have the I don't know, it's funny to say, but you can scan in Africa where you have another competence center like this one of ours. It's not easy. There was one in UCT and with Professor Benton, which is no longer, they closed. But so this one of ours, we have been serving Kenya, but also 9 other countries around us, Ethiopia, Somalia, South Sudan. So your kids will be engaging into this kind of things. Like, for instance, there are 47 counties, and the 47 counties need to create their own energy plans, county energy plans for 5 years. Who will do that? There has to be these students of ours. They will teach them how to use GIS-based system tools, and they will develop for Narok, for Transoia, for Bungoma, for Kakamega, for Kitui, for etc. So this, the advantage that we have is that we began from the top. We began with a fantastic lab, even for calibration. Then we now are offering a degree in a master's degree in sustainable energy transition. Those 3 things that I mentioned to you, it is here. We got 100,000 pounds from the FID, and we have developed the degree, and we are offering it to this year, 2021 September, will go. So such that these kids, they have started already on a path that can take them to masters, to PhD. We have a fantastic program called Open Africa Power. We are training people with the NL Foundation. NL Foundation is the foundation of the Kenya Power of Italy, but they are much bigger. The Kenya Power has about 3.5 million connections. This one has only bought from Brazil in 2019, 17 million connections. So, and they have enough transmission time to go to the moon and back 4 times. So we are a partner university with them, with NL, and these people are going to be helping us to train your students for the green world that is coming. E-mobility, we don't want internal combustion any longer. It has to be electric cars. Then, of course, stop the thermal power plants. I was in the task force of telling the government, don't renew with the Thika Power, don't renew Tsavo, don't renew Gulf, and that's the way to go. So the idea is that we put the students on this path. That is the green and sustainable path, so that the world we leave behind is a better one. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for the responses. Then there are 2 gentlemen who are asking about
Yes.
this degree called mechatronics, this mechanical,
Yes.
electrical, electronic
Yeah.
engineering
Okay.
degree.
Yes. So
They're asking
mechatronics.
yeah.
Yeah, mechatronics is a very interesting degree. It was begun being offered about 25 years ago, when we didn't talk to each other. You know, electrics and electronics would go this way, and then mechanics will go the other way. You know, you have the thermal things, then it's mechanical. Then you have here the controls, then you have the electrical. It is no longer like that. Everything today is merged. You have mechanics, you have flows, you have processes, and you have electronics. They come together, and you maybe doing, for instance, an exam, a test in a lab, which is a Carnot cycle, which is a cycle for mechanics, but you are doing it through your computer. Somewhere in Nigeria, we have one of our students is a young lady from Nigeria. She was the best mathematician in a competition last year, so she got to join us here. So this young lady is doing all this stuff through the computer. So what happens is that mechatronics today is everything. You see, our electricity is mechatronics. Our when it comes, the mechanical engineering next year, God willing, then they will have the aspect of mechatronics, of electronics. And then one important thing is that EBK has requested us to have the so-called thematic head to take care of quality. Professor Mbuthia Jackson, the former dean of University of Nairobi School of Engineering, is now our thematic head for control and electronics. Now, Professor Da Silva, this guy here, is the thematic head for machines and power. And then we are grooming another one, Dr. Julius Butimi, to be the thematic head for telecommunications. But what I want to tell you today is that these things are merging. Like, for instance, 3D printing, is it mechanical or electrical? You know, it's a mix of both. Yeah. You are mute. You are mute.
Sorry, I've unmuted myself. Huh? So
Yeah.
will it be introduced at the university, mechatronics?
It is everything. For instance, the humanitarian people, the International Red Cross Council for Red Cross, we signed a contract. They are putting a lab here where we are going to train humanitarian people for the, Dadaab, Kakuma, etc. Now, what are we put is a blend of mechanical and electrical, because they have to install motors, engines that can be a bit of mechanical, but at the same time, this thing has to be done, switch on and off through the mobile phone 1,000 kilometers from here, which is electronics. So that's the thing. I say it would make sense, the mechatronics as such, as a different degree, but in this day and age, you have to know IT, you have to know processes, and you have to know electronics together. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor, for the very informative presentation once again. At least now we know quite a bit about what is now going to attract us in that direction.
The revolutions, yes, decarbonization, yes, decentralization and digitalization.
Exactly.
If you go through this, you'll find a lot of people running after you to give you a job, and says, okay. Okay, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Okay. All right, good people, I do believe that we are almost getting to the end of our career day. So the last slot will be taken up by myself as I make a small presentation about what your sons can do in between finishing off KCSE and getting into a proper university course or a college course, whichever the case is. So if you will just allow me to just share my screen. Okay, so just to give you a small, if I can say, heads up, just to introduce this, it's going to be very, very short. I am very, very sure that very many of you are just wondering about what you're going to do with your sons immediately the exams are finished. Now, let me just tell you what I think could happen. Well, what I think will happen. I've got a son in this particular class, and I know for a fact that he will initially not want to do anything immediately the exams are finished. The second fact is this. 2 weeks down the line, if we haven't yet planned for anything to happen for him, I am sure he's going to get very, very, very bored about this sort of routine. Go to sleep, next morning, wake up, laze around, look around, eat lunch, laze around, look around, maybe watch television, I don't know, some funny routine. Then in the evening, sleep. And then it'll be repetitious again and again and again. I give a maximum of 2 weeks for any boy who is going to, unfortunately, take up such a routine. That boredom is real. So I've mentioned overdependence. So I have mentioned the overdependence on electronics. There'll be a lot of reference to that. There'll be a lot of binge eating where you know that there's this immediate access to food in that kitchen and you can quickly get there. There'll be a lot of that. Then the worst of the lot will be the reduction in the ability to think critically. They'll call it resting, whatever that means. So there'll be a dumbing down tendency, if I may refer to it as that. And then the worst will be, if within that initial period they have been socializing with a few of their friends in the same league, then those friends start doing something meaningful, and then these other young men are left behind. Now loneliness will check in. And all of these things that I've said are very, very negative, in my view. So I am really thinking about what I'm going to do with that son of mine. I'm sure that you guys are also doing the same thing. Now, before I make my presentation over here, before I do anything, there's just one thing I have been telling all the students who have been making contact with in the school, and that is the possibility of self-employment. You see, most of the presentations over here, if not all of them, they will talk about, getting a job, training yourself very, very well, which is all very good. But the thing is it possible for us to encourage, if it can be, to encourage these boys to really start thinking about self-employment? And how does that work out? Start focusing on something that is your passion as of now. I don't know what it is, videography, photography, whatever it is, farming. I do believe that some of you have quite a few big farms, all right? You can think about this very, very seriously. Let these young men start thinking very, very seriously about self-employment. And I think it'll be a bit more satisfying to be able to manage your own thing and then to employ others if you can. Then, having said that, let me start off with this. I just have a few courses, not very many. This is not exhaustive, just a few courses that your sons could decide to do in a few of the institutions that I'm going to list. So, one of those is the Boma International Hospitality College. Now, these guys have been dealing with the hospitality scene in Nairobi, training young people to become fully fledged professionals in the hospitality field, if I can call it that. So this particular college deals with hospitality courses, management, culinary arts, in partnership with that particular institution in Switzerland. They offer short courses running from 40 hours. That's the shortest I actually got in their website, all the way to 3 months. All right. So knowing that, as Professor Muigai gave us the timelines, that free time that our boys would tend to have, that 3-month period could be used. And typical examples of courses are as listed. So we have international cookery. Let these young men learn how to cook, and not just cook, but cook very well. All right. Pastry and bakery. Then hospitality operations. There's a foundation program in that. Then they are actually based in South Sea near the International Red Cross, if you more or less know where it is. Then the website is given on the left-hand side of the screen. So you can actually access the website of this particular college and just find out a bit more about these short courses. So that's BIHC. Then computer literacy. So you want a few of those short courses, though I understand, I appreciate the fact that quite a number of these young men are already very, very computer literate, but there's nothing stopping them from getting a piece of paper that certifies that they've gone through a course. This is a typical place that can be accessed by them. The website that you can go into is given to you immediately on the left-hand side. Then they provide training services on IT, and they are based on Kenyatta Avenue at the JKUAT Towers. So for those who are more or less interested in competing, and I know that there are quite a few of them who are, this could be an option. Now, maybe the only reason why I'm fronting this particular school, the Brookhouse International School, with the website given to you for reference by you, is because of that 7-month foundation course. What we have discovered over the years is that there are a number of parents who are more or less interested in sending their sons out to that university out there. Of course, after doing due diligence with respect to the circumstances that we are in right now. So if you're still interested in that, you have done your research about that particular targeted university out there, then this might just be the place for you. The only thing about it is it's a bit on the steeper side. It'll dig into your pocket, but you have a 7-month foundation course that prepares that son of yours for that first-year course outside there. And this particular school is based on Magadi Road, on the way to Ongata Rugai. So it's more or less easily accessible by road. That's Brookhouse for you. Then, once again, for those people who have sons who really want to increase their knowledge on computing, so we have this particular driving license that seems to be some sort of rage amongst these young men, the International Computer Driving License. So you have the Kenya Methodist University. Well, this particular course is being offered at the Kenya Methodist University, KEMU. There are other institutions that do get to offer it, but well, this is the one I actually looked at. Then it's a 6-month course, and it's designed to equip learners with the skills and knowledge in basic computer apps. Then it covers all Microsoft Suite applications, then plus knowledge of internet use. I was having a small discussion with somebody, and he was suggesting that, quite a number of these things, you can actually self-learn. You can teach yourself. Well, you can, but then I think it's much, much better having somebody who already knows teaching you the stuff within a timetable, a sort of regime. So there's a bit of discipline involved over there. And then, like I said, it's taken at KEMU on campus. So that's the ICDL. We have this particular institution, the Insector IC Training Center. Once again, computer oriented. So, no, let me just really give that back to you. So there are different courses. There are different courses. They range from 1 to a maximum of 3 months. And the typical examples of the courses are given to you as shown. We have courses in graphic design, cyber security, ethical hacking, not the other one. All right, this one is ethical, all for security issues, for security purposes. Because I do understand that there's quite a bit of demand for such people. People are knowledgeable in this for security purpose amongst big firms. Then mobile app development, etc. In fact, some of your boys, I tell you, some of them, even as we speak right now, they have already started going into mobile app development. I know because I speak to them. And then where this is based, so there's this Kenya House complex, 2nd floor, opposite KEMU, that's on Koinange Street. So there's this particular center, and then there's also this other one, Visualdo, with some spectacular names. So Visualdo Institute, of course, with the website for you to do your own research on it. So once again, this particular institute offers 1 to 3 months courses in videography. All right, so shooting videos and then sorting them out, putting them together, compiling them, and making something out of all those stills maybe. All right, then once again, these guys are based more or less in the same building. So Koinange Street, that Kenya House complex. Then the only reason why I am presenting this particular company to you is just to show you, just to add on to what Professor Muigai had given you as a presentation, or as part of a presentation. So this is a company that more or less helps you or helps the students in finding places abroad. So they deal with the placement, career guidance, and all that. All right, so this is just an extra source. There are quite a number of such companies. All right, quite a number. But the thing with these guys is that they've been coming over to us again and again and again. And so I felt I needed to just promote them just a bit, if I can use that expression. All right, then their services are all free of charge. If you want to contact them, if you need to do so, and you think about those universities abroad, then you have the website on the left-hand side of the screen, as you will. Then basically that is all I had. Like I said, I'm not an expert in this. I'm not the final authority in these short courses. There are quite a number. One of the things I know is this. For those of you as parents or even guardians who are in attendance right now, there are a few of you who already own your own businesses. You're self-employed. Why don't you think about apprenticeship over a short period of time for your sons? Why not? I know the issue could come up about, salaries, a small payment here and there, but you could actually get to negotiate with that young man and tell him that, you become an apprentice. You might find that you will become so interested in whatever it is that you're following up on. And then who knows? You might decide to strike out on your own, all right, by employing yourself, employing others subsequently, and enjoying yourself in that particular career line. So if you are willing to take your son in as an apprentice, or if you know somebody who can actually do that favor for you, take your son in as an apprentice, why not? It is a very good option. All right. Okay, so basically that is what I had. So allow me to just stop this particular share. I have just seen a quick chat question. So what about becoming an assistant teacher at Strathmore School? There is a process. And I know that Mr. Muthiora is in attendance. He knows everything that I'm talking about. There is a process of application. You apply to the principal, and then you'll be shortlisted, and who knows, you'll be taken in. So there is a process for that. All right. So I'm being told that I'm hardly audible. What a pity. I'll just check my volume controls. Okay, so there's just one more thing I have in mind. So just to finish off today, I know it's been a very, very long day for all of us. So there's a small announcement that I was asked to read out to you. So if you just bear with me, just let me source it. Okay, so concerning the choices for university courses, so I'll just read it verbatim if you'll allow me to do so. So the boys are going to choose the university courses for the Kenyan public universities after the half-term break. So immediately after the half-term break, you will, your sons will be given the option of choosing those campuses. Then the school will provide them with a manual with all of the courses offered in the public universities, the cutoff points and application procedures. So they're going to come back with that. They will be given 1 full week to discuss those choices or their choices with you as parents before filling in the application forms. Then you as parents are then encouraged to ensure that the forms are filled in and returned so that there is no delay. Then the school shall send a more comprehensive circular explaining all of this in due course. So this is just to alert you that we have this in mind, so it will all be done. And then just in case you want to find out just a bit more about this before we send you the circular. Okay, you can also visit the Kenya Universities and Colleges Central Placing Services, and The website is as I have sent right now. So you have it on chat. Yeah? So that is the website. So with that in mind, thank you very, very much. I'm just being told that time is running out. We're almost out of time for this. So Asanteni sana for being in attendance. Then we shall make this particular recording available to you in very, very, in quick time, so to speak. So thank you very, very much. Asanteni sana. You enjoy your Saturday and plus the weekend. So thank you very much.